following is an exclusive presentation of Ravens Productions.
Step 2 in the journey to the regular season as the Ravens play their first road game of the preseason tonight in South Florida. Jeremy Maclin, Mike Wallace, looking to shine.
Previously on Ravens preseason football, the defense dominated the Redskins, holding them to just 39 yards rushing. Will the strength of the front seven lead this team? After a slow start, the offense found their rhythm in the ground game. Will a renewed commitment to the rushing attack lead to winning results? As we get set for episode 2 tonight, more questions will be answered, and more questions will be asked. It's Ravens Dolphins from Miami.
Week 2 of the preseason brings us to Hard Rock Stadium in South Florida for the Ravens and the Miami Dolphins, a sneak preview of their Week 8 showdown in the regular season. Jerry Sandusky, the coach, Brian Billick with you in South Florida. And tonight, Brian, we get a chance to get a first look at the first-round pick, Marlon Humphrey.
Yeah, the coaches love the physicality of this young man. Both John Harbaugh and John Peace want to see how this guy plays with the lights on. He comes from Alabama. He knows what it's all about. They want to test him tonight.
And on the offensive side, the big free agent acquisition, Jeremy Maclin will go tonight.
This is important now. We've lost Dennis Pitta, so we've got to find those catches in the intermediate level. This guy has caught better than 80 balls 2 years ago. He's that intermediate guy to go with the big plays down the field. He's going to be a big part of this offense going forward.
That means bigger names for Ryan Mallett, bigger targets. We'll see if that leads to bigger results as the Ravens take their hopes on the road tonight in South Florida to take on the Miami Dolphins. When we come back, we'll take you down to the field and get you set for Week 2 and a look at Ryan Mallett, what to expect as the Ravens take on the Dolphins. Sunset in South Florida, Biscayne Bay, in a town that loves the nightlife. We've got some excitement tonight in Miami, Florida, as the Ravens get set to take on the Miami Dolphins. Jerry Sandusky with you, along with the coach. And Brian, with a name like Jerry Sandusky, I shouldn't make fun of names, but when you call Dean Pease Don Pease, it begs for me to call you Bob Billick.
Yeah, you're right. It's not fair. I can default to the numbers. We need to number the coaches, so I can say, number 3 told me that it'd be a lot easier that way.
Well, the number we're going to watch tonight is number 15 on offense, Ryan Mallett. It's his second week as a starter. He does have bigger names to throw to. What do you expect to see from him tonight?
Well, I hope he can ignore what's going on in front of him with the offensive line. He's got some of the big names that he can throw to down the field. He's got to be better than he was last week. He was functional last week. As I said earlier, he was only 1 of 7 on third down. That's where I want to see him shine. He's got the weapons to be better at on third down to then be able to move to the run game.
The run game has increased in importance this summer. So tonight, do we start to see some separation in who the feature back is and how the different backs are used?
Well, hopefully get to see a little Denny Woodhead, and he's more about being worked out of the backfield as opposed as a true running back. But this physical downhill running style that we saw last week, we want to see a lot more of it, particularly against a Miami Dolphin team that struggled against the run a little bit last year. They want to continue this running profile they're trying to build.
Let's head back down to the field, and Evan Washburn, the third member of our broadcast team. Evan, Dean Pease told us he does not have a game plan for tonight's game, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have a plan.
Exactly. Dean Pease doesn't go to the plan of keeping it vanilla. Now, he told us last night that they have sent more pressures in blitz than any other preseason in the past. And part of the reason to this is they're trying to build a defense and an identity that's built off of speed and aggression. And Pease's point to us was, well, we can't just turn that on in the regular season. We've got to do it throughout the preseason. Also, they can evaluate players because they're throwing a lot at them. So don't expect this defense, which we saw was dominant last Thursday, to slow down at all, guys.
All right, Evan, thank you very much as we get set to see what Week 2 unfolds here on the road. Brian, when you take a team that has a lot of young players that you're trying to get a look for, what is it you're looking for them to learn about life on the road in the NFL?
Well, this sounds awful simplistic, but can you find your way from the hotel to the bus? You're a different state. Can you get to the locker room? Do you understand what the routine is? In your interview with John Harbaugh before the game, this is a priority for them. You've got to learn to travel well. Denny Green, my mentor, used to always say you got to be able to, travel all night, fight all day. And that's part of the mentality he's trying to foster here, particularly on a very warm. That's going to test him tonight as well. You're going to have a lot of rotation in because it's going to be a warm, muggy night for these guys.
Well, let's take a look at the weather for tonight. 87 degrees, feels like 98. Humidity's in the high 90s. It is going to be a condition tester. Much hotter weather than the Ravens had through most of training camp. So tonight, the Ravens at least get one small break. They're wearing white. Not really sure why the Dolphins would let them get away with that, but you'll take it.
Well, I haven't been to the stadium since they've redone it. They've really got, with the canopies they have on top, obviously this late, it wouldn't make that much of a difference, but it does. It gives a lot of shades to the fans, and it's also shaded for the players as well. So at least from that standpoint, it's not going to be an issue. But, boy, I was out running this morning, Jerry. This humidity is something, we think we have it hot sometimes in Baltimore. It's nothing like the humidity here in Miami.
Justin Tucker will kick it off, and we are underway in week 2 in South Florida. And this one will be taken deep, brought out of the back of the end zone by Sonoris Perry across the 20. Perry to the 25. And he'll be taken down shy of the 30-yard line. So the defense for the Ravens tonight. Brandon Williams, Michael Pierce, and Brent Urban. They set the tone a week ago up front. We'll see them try to do that again tonight. The linebacking core looking for a big night from Kamale Correa. Ravens know what C.J. Mosley and Suggs can do. Correa and Judon are the younger players looking to make strides. And on the corners, it is an upgraded secondary. Carr and Jimmy Smith. And we see Tony Jefferson and Eric Weddle in the back end of that defense. Jay Ajayi in the backfield. The first snap for Jay Cutler as the Miami Dolphins quarterback. Cutler, the former Chicago Bear, goes to the ground game, and Ajayi will get nowhere as he is stuck right at the line of scrimmage. Tony Jefferson coming up and playing in the box there.
Well, that's one of the things we want to see. And of course, Jay Cutler, they're kind of going to do a sugar huddle or no huddle here. They want to take control of it. You don't want to let the Baltimore Ravens get set into a pattern defense, so it looks like they're going to test them with a little no huddle early.
Cutler with his first pass as a Miami Dolphins. A little throw in the middle, complete to Ajayi, and Ajayi will have a first down out to the 40-yard line, where Jarvis Landry helps spin him forward. Landry better be careful. That's a penalty. He just got away with it. Darius Webb with the stop.
Well, and again, you can see that Miami is going very quick-paced here, obviously with Jay Cutler. And sometimes that's easier. If you have control, you know what you can call rather than the calls in from the sideline. This is probably something Jay Cutler is very comfortable with right now. Remember, he came out of the Adam Gase system in Chicago. He's probably more comfortable with the no huddle right now than getting the call from the sideline.
Back to Ajayi, who's buried for a loss in the backfield as Brandon Williams came in with the tackle for loss. And Brandon Williams, the big offseason re-addition. He was their number one priority the offseason. They paid him big money, and he is stepping into the leadership role.
Yeah, where's the beef? It's in the middle of the Baltimore Ravens defensive line with Pierce and Williams.
Jay Cutler will stay in the shotgun. Opening drive for the Miami Dolphins. Quick hitch pass. He's got Landry on the flat, and Landry is in trouble, and he's going to be bottled up and taken down. Brent Urban showing great athleticism, getting out onto the flat and taking away the running route for Landry.
And this really shows you the commitment of the Miami Dolphins going to this no huddle, even on a third down. And now the Ravens, and you know what? Dean Pease is going to love this because now they're having to adjust to this. I don't know if they anticipated. They have to adjust their calls and learn to deal with it.
Cutler flagged down. His pass is complete inside the Ravens' 40-yard line. A flag down as Devontae Parker has the reception, but we'll see if the Dolphins are able to stay in the Ravens' territory. They will not. The penalty will back them up.
Boy, that's a killer. That was a great throw by Cutler and a little fade step on the back end. I think they ended up getting called for holding on Matt Judon.
Brandon Carr had the coverage. Jay Cutler with his first big play. It's negated. Penalty's going to back the Dolphins up into a third down and 27. So Dean Pease can really bring pressure here.
Yeah, we wanted to talk. Dean Pease talked to us about how they want to test the secondary, not just Marlon Humphrey, but the entire secondary. Now, obviously, you love this side of the play call for a defensive coordinator. I got a whole bunch of great calls on third and forever.
Four-man front. We'll see if Dean Pease brings one of his blitz packages. Cutler inside handoff. Ajayi looking for a gap. He's got a little bit of one. Breaks it free. Flag is down as Ajayi's big hit taken out of bounds. Eric Weddle with a hit. A late flag following.
Wow, this could be interesting because, again, we probably had another hold with that little draw play, but it may be a late hit out of bounds.
Hit came from Tony Jefferson. lot of delay in weeding out the call. John Harbaugh trying to get some clarification.
There are 2 fouls in the play.
Should be offsetting it,
Holding,
that's what I thought it was,
offense
yeah.
number 79. Personal foul, late hit out of bounds, defense number 32. The penalty's offset. 3rd down.
Well, that's a tough one. That's a tough one because now if you're Dean Pease, obviously they were going to punt. You're going to turn down the penalty, but now this gives them another chance. Now, the problem was it was a default, draw when you get into 3rd and 20. Okay, we just don't want to turn the ball over. We're going to run a draw. It'd be interesting to see what they want to do here. I can't imagine they're all of a sudden going to take a shot down the field. They may look for a quick throw underneath to see if someone can break a tackle and try to get at least some yardage, if not the first down.
Quick kick, always an option.
Yeah, well, you want to practice everything.
Right.
That wouldn't be a bad one right here.
Throw that one in the mix. Cutler's going to spread it out with 3 receivers to the left. Marlon Humphrey on the field, and the pass is dropped at the line of scrimmage by Devontae Parker. So all of that for naught. The punt team will come on. The Ravens will get the ball for the first time.
Yeah, Terrell Suggs, obviously, great eyes. One of the signs of a good defense, it's hard to screen a good defense. And in the day back when I had Ray Lewis and that group, you could not screen us because we recognized, diagnosed, pulled the trigger. You saw Terrell Suggs there. Good sign of this defense. And, of course, they kind of knew, okay, it's going to be a draw. It's, what do we say, a quick throw to the outside. They kind of knew it was coming, but good diagnosis on the part of Terrell Suggs.
Matt Darr will punt it off to Michael Campanaro, who settles under it at the 28-yard line. Plows his way forward to the 33, and now will yield the field to Ryan Mallett and the Ravens offense, who will have the ball for the first time tonight here in South Florida, week 2 of the preseason. Ryan Mallett a week ago at the preseason opener, 9 of 18, 58 yards. Not stellar numbers, but the native of Texarkana, Texas, looking to have a big step up tonight because he has bigger names to throw to. And Brian, that's a more accurate way to evaluate a quarterback, I think.
Sure it is. Give him an opportunity to win down the field, although early I think we may see some quick throws with the juxtaposition of the offensive line. Maybe just let them get settled a little bit before you do some of these 5- and 7-step drops.
Jeremy Maclin to the top of the screen. Terrence West will carry to the bottom, and West across the 35 with a pickup of about 5 on first down. A look at the Ravens starting lineup. Mike Wallace and Jeremy Maclin at receiver. Nick Boyle is the tight end. Ortiz and West in the backfield. This is an offensive line you have never seen this configuration before. James Hurst, right tackle last week, left guard this week in practice, left tackle tonight. Matt Skura gets a start. Ryan Jensen at center. Jared Pugsley getting his first start in the NFL at right guard. Danny Woodhead checks into the backfield as Ryan Mallett will throw on second down. Quick release, a strike to Mike Wallace with room to run. Wallace across midfield but fumbles the ball. And great hustle by the Ravens. They will recover it at the Dolphins' 49-yard line. And it is Matt Skura who comes up with the loose ball.
Yeah, obviously Wallace, this is what he can do. He threatens you with your speed underneath. He just jumps underneath. He can make you miss. This is where the big plays come from. What did we talk about? This is why you got to play in the preseason. You got to get used to the physicality. You got to get used to taking the hits in live action.
Great play by a young offensive lineman to keep the offense on the field. 1st and 10 at the Dolphins' side of the 50. Woodhead with his first carry darts forward for a couple down to the 47-yard line where Kiko Alonso puts him to the turf. So there you go, Brian, your first look at Danny Woodhead.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how they're going to use him. Last week we saw a lot of the downhill runs when we saw obviously West and even Mizell. Danny Woodhead more out of a 3-wide receiver set, a lot of traps, a lot of draws, and then of course seeing him out of the backfield. He's been an 80-plus catch guy.
Ryan Mallett on second down. Out of the gun. Gets good protection. Pass a little bit too hot and off the hands of his target. He was looking for Danny Woodhead. He might have had a little bit too much of a fastball for even Danny Woodhead to handle. So Danny Woodhead is a guy who his career has more receiving yards than rushing yards, almost a 50-50 split. Former Division III Player of the Year, a great athlete, a scratch golfer. He can do it all athletically, and I think that's what they really want him to be able to do in this offense. Sure. Anything they need him to do.
A good year for Danny Woodhead is going to be 100, a little over 100 carries, maybe 70, maybe 80 receptions.
That's a big workload. Ryan Mallett on third down. Again, good protection. A little check down pass to West is good, but it's not good enough for the first down as he is taken down at the 41-yard line again by Kiko Alonso. So now we'll see whether or not John Harbaugh wants to go for it on 4th down, and all signs are he does. Sam Cook stays on the sideline.
Yeah, why not? You want some rhythm. You want to give Ryan Mallett an opportunity. I want to see what he does if I put this on his shoulder. This is obviously a down and distance, although 4th and 2, you got plenty of run opportunity here. So I get to test my running game, what I want to be better, or I can put it in the hands of my young quarterback and see how he responds to the pressure.
Ravens are going to take a timeout to let Ryan Mallett talk things over with Marty Morningwig and John Harbaugh. And we'll see whether they stick with the plan to go for it on 4th down. Scoreless first quarter in Miami. John Harbaugh, no stranger to the green light on 4th down. Last year the Ravens were 8 for 19 on 4th down conversion attempts. So when you have a great or emerging great defense, it gives you a lot more latitude.
Sure it does.
And you might as well try your schemes here in preseason where it's not going to come back to bite you.
Sure. Or it's an opportunity. Maybe we're practicing the no snap. Maybe we're going to try to draw them off sides. I think they'll run the ball, but either way, like I said, preseason's all about getting everything practiced and put on tape in one form or fashion.
See if Ryan Mallett goes with a hard count under center, or if he will set in the shotgun and try to spread the Dolphins defense out. This Ravens offensive line is a really interesting configuration. The guy we're going to watch a little bit tonight is Matt Skura getting a starting guard, Garrett Pugsley getting a starting guard, and how that interior play works with Ryan Jensen.
Zero backfield, so we're looking at a pass.
No hard count here. They're gonna go for real on 4th and 2 from the Dolphins 42.
Woodhead's right here.
And Mallett pumps once, and his pass is incomplete. He was looking for Danny Woodhead. It was broken up. Ndamukong Suh got the penetration up the middle against those young offensive linemen. So now John Harbaugh is going to see his defense come onto the field. Brian, what's the coach looking for the keys tonight to a successful night in Miami?
Well, it's important we get increased productivity from Ryan Mallett. And that's an example right there. 3rd down, we already talked about how that was a bit of a struggle last week. Establish the downhill running game. Now, if they're going to stay in this 3 wides, I think we'll begin to see more of it as the series move on. But as they're spread out in 3 wides, that means now it's going to be more inside-outside zone and maybe some draws. And then the use of the safeties. I want to see how they use Weddle and Jefferson. You can't just have one back and one up. I want to see them rock and roll and see if they're playing both up and back.
Jay Cutler remains at quarterback for the Dolphins. Started the Miami 42. Pass is caught. Ravens territory and spinning his way down to the 41-yard line. Devontae Parker with the Dolphins first down.
Well, and here we can see with Cutler doing the same thing now. He's trying to confuse this defense. The ball's going to come out with a quick play fake turn. The safety's trying to buzz out underneath the flat route, and now they get a nice easy completion inside. This no huddle is obviously the way they're deciding to take on, and you see a lot of teams will do that, just not in preseason necessarily. Again, Dean Pease, I think, although it must be frustrating for him right now and you're having to keep up, this is good work for them because these guys are going to see a little bit of this during the season. This is the way you calm down some of the complex packages that Dean Pease can throw at you.
So the defense gets put in a tough spot for the first time really in this preseason. 2nd and 6. Michael Pierce on that last tackle after a 4-yard gain by Damian Williams. And a whistle prior to the snap.
False start, offense number 10. 5-yard penalty, 2nd down.
That has preseason written all over it, but you would expect that from a rookie. Instead, it comes from a veteran from Miami.
And a new quarterback. You know, obviously the whole idea, particularly in the gun, there's a certain cadence to it. He's got to get on the line with the center, and obviously it wasn't, the receiver was jumping as well. You had the right tackle, the right guard. A lot going on with a new quarterback under or out from under center in Jay Cutler.
So we'll talk about that throughout the broadcast tonight, but the idea that the Ravens won't have Joe Flacco at quarterback until the regular season, how many of these details do they have to worry about? Cutler to throw. Lost it deep near sideline, and it's incomplete. Ryan, there's that safety coverage you wanted to see. You had Eric Weddle over top of Brandon Carr.
Well, you can see they were coming after it. The Ravens were going to bring pressure from the inside right in here. Jay Cutler knows I've got to get the ball up quick, maybe a little earlier. We saw this turn into an interception last week where obviously Carr now knows he's got help over the top. He can chicken fight all the way down, could underplay the coverage in that regard. Good combination defense with the safety.
Cutler on third down under pressure, has to get rid of it. We talked about the inability of teams to screen against the defense. That time it was Zadarius Smith bringing the pressure, and the punt team has to come on to Miami. Let's go back to that, because I think it's something that's very interesting for a football fan to understand, that a simple play, like a screen play, is almost taken out of the game plan when you have a defense like the Ravens. Why?
Right. Simply because they do such a good job of diagnosing, and particularly the down and distance is going to be a factor. But that's just a deep, effective defensive line and outside linebacker group that knows the signs of the screen. The linemen are a little bit more passive. The back is chipping a little bit. Just good diagnosis, good coaching on the part of the Ravens, getting them to recognize what the screen game is all about.
Michael Campanaro with a fair catch. The Ravens backed up deep in their territory. Right now, your Baltimore area Burger King restaurants are offering collectible Ravens player cups with a new Ravens player each week for 6 weeks. Collect all 6 with the purchase of a large combo meal or a large soft drink. Score big now, only at Burger King for a limited time only while supplies last. Jerry Sandusky, the coach. Brian Billick with you live from the Verizon broadcast booth, Hard Rock Stadium in South Florida. You know, we call it Miami. Technically, it's not Miami. It's in between Miami and Fort Lauderdale, but I don't think letting people know that we're in Miramar, Florida has quite as sexy of appeal as Miami. And there's movement along the line as the Ravens start their drive at their 8-yard line.
Now the Ravens have changed their approach. They're back to a base personnel. They started out in 3 wide, spread out, had Danny Woodhead in.
False start. Offense, number 68. Half minutes to the goal. First down.
So Matt Skura picks up the penalty. He was the kid who also picked up the fumble. There's a check plus in one side and a demerit on the other.
Well, in this base configuration here now, this would bode and make you think they're going to try to get a little downhill in the running game.
West with a carry. He's got a nice blocking in front of him, but he powers his way out to the 10-yard line before Mike Hull can bring him down.
And this is what I want to see this week. We talked about the importance of continuing with the downhill running game, the role of the fullback and of the tight ends in this counter ISO. This is just a downhill, simple as a screwdriver. Nice little jump cut by West. Nice job. And then what? He's got that good pad level. That's what I like about this guy. He's always going to get positive yards.
So that's nothing fancier than you have to beat the man over top of you.
Simple as a screwdriver.
2nd down and 8. Back to Terrence West with a carry. Loses his footing, loses the ball, and it's Skura, I believe, who falls on it for a second time. Check that. Austin Howard, the new right tackle, as the Ravens recover their second fumble. We saw the loss of footage by Terrence West on the jump cut that you were referencing earlier. Let's go down to the field.
A little out of balance.
And check it with Evan Washburn on the field conditions. Evan?
Well, Jerry, I was just thinking that the footing here on this field, while it looks immaculate, looks like a fairway, footing a problem for both teams. It's so thin that these big divots are coming out, and guys are losing their footing. A concern, obviously, is you want to stay healthy coming out of the preseason.
Puts Ryan Mallett in position to have to throw out of his end zone. He throws the screen to West. Check that, Buck Allen, and Buck Allen breaks one tackle, gets across to the 15, but that will be shy of the first down. Byron Maxwell brings him down.
Yeah, good job, obviously, by Miami coming up. And this is, good play call. I need to see some shots by Ryan Mallett. I need to see some more throws down the field. He's got a good receiving core around him right now. I know 3rd and 13 is a long haul. I get that. I understand dropping it underneath. But Ryan Mallett needs to show that he can make some of those throws down the field for the first down.
Sam Cook punting the ball to Keem Grant. Grant settles under it inside the 25-yard line. He loses his footing and takes off along the sideline, where he is ushered out of bounds. Ravens will have the ball for a second time and we get back scoreless in Miami. If you have a question for our broadcast team, you can ask it on Twitter. Just use hashtag #RavensBooth and then look for your answer on the air. The first question coming in from Nick wants to know who you think, Brian, will start week 1 at corner, Carr or Humphrey.
I don't think there's any question it's going to be Brandon Carr, but what's a starter? I mean, Humphrey could, you're going to have nickel packages, you're going to have dime packages. I always kind of got caught up with, well, who's your starters? Well, tell me what they're in. Are they in 2 tights? Are they in 21 personnel? They're in 3 wides? I'll tell you who my starters are. Both are going to play a lot.
New quarterback for the Dolphins, Matt Moore, taking the snaps, hands it off. Damian Williams testing that Ravens run defense and continuing to fail the test after a gain of only about 1.5 yards. Brent Urban on the stop. when we talk about things like the nickel package, the dime package, that is predicated on the offensive personnel package. Are they using 3 wide receivers? Are they using 2 tight ends? I think one of the most underrated skills for a defensive coordinator and his staff is the ability to assess what's the personnel package. They have 15 seconds to match it.
And there's this cast of thousands, all with their eyes on who's in, who's out, who's coming from the sideline, all trying to tell Dean Pease what personnel grouping he's facing.
Matt Moore will throw off the play fake. Slings it up the middle, and it's broken up, incomplete. Excellent coverage by Jimmy Smith at midfield.
You know, the Ravens have got to feel very good in talking with Coach Pease last night. Obviously, the secondary and the injuries that have affected them over the last couple of years, they feel good about the depth. Now, we've lost, Tavon Young. Candy should come back, obviously, during the course of the season. But even as it stands, the depth of this secondary, they've got to feel pretty good about it.
The incompletion sets up a 3rd down and long. An exotic front for the Ravens. They'll bring 6. And Matt Moore is going down. He is sacked by Lardarius Webb back at the 23-yard line, but a flag is down at the 35. Well, Lardarius Webb came untouched.
Well, this is going to be interesting to see what happens. Webb, being
5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Terrell Suggs picks up the holding penalty.
Coming right off the edge right into here. Typically what a team will do is when you show an empty backfield, nobody in the backfield, you're going to make sure you're going to bring one more than they can block with their front 5. At least come from a side where they can't adjust to it. That's exactly what they did there, and obviously force the incompletion.
Penalty creates a first down for the Dolphins.
Or the sack, I should say.
At the Miami 38-yard line, and negates a great defensive play. Matt Moore off the play fake, under pressure, tips and drops at the 42-yard line. That is a disruptive defense. I think that one play, Brian, it looks like a gain of no yards. It looks like a ho-hum play statistically. That play is really what Terrell Suggs and the Ravens defense are all about, being disruptive, forcing ugly things.
Yeah, they're going to make the matchup favor them, and God forbid you should ever leave Terrell Suggs one-on-one on that backside, because now you got a tight end. The idea is you put the tight end to the side of the best pass rusher so you can double team it. What you end up getting is just one-on-one with the tight end. That's not a matchup you want to have with Terrell Suggs.
2nd and 10. Back to the ground game, and nothing doing as C.J. Mosley is there to swallow up the ball carrier after a gain of about 2. Well, the Redskins tried to test the Ravens run defense early. Miami, for understandable reasons, trying to do the same thing. And C.J. Mosley is very much a central figure in what is shaping up like a defense that teams are not going to be able to run on.
Yeah, when you have 2 inside people like we've talked about with Williams and Pierce, your inside linebacker is going to be pretty good, because they get free runners to the running back, free runs to the quarterback, but you've got to have somebody that's athletic enough to take advantage of it. C.J. Mosley can do just that.
And Mosley comes up the middle on the blitz, forces Matt Moore on the run, and Moore's pass is complete out there midfield. Kenny Stills with the reception, and that will move the chains for Miami.
This is just all Matt Moore. I mean, again, the Ravens had a free runner coming right up the middle. He was able to get the outside. And once that happens, that really puts a lot of pressure on the secondary to hold up.
Matt Moore thought he might be the starting quarterback. Whistle and a flag prior to the snap.
Offense number 67. 5-yard penalty. First down.
So the penalties and the fumbles we didn't see in week 1, we're starting to see here in week 2.
Exactly. That was noticeably absent in week 1. Adam Gase here at home. Not that the crowd would dictate otherwise, even for the Ravens. It's not a huge crowd right now. But certainly at home, you don't expect these procedural penalties just drive you nuts as a coach. Hey, the other ones from snap to whistle, I can deal with that. Maybe it was a hold, maybe it was I get that. But pre and post snap penalties drive you nuts.
Because it's just a mental error.
Absolutely. No 2 ways about it.
For the handoff, Williams loses his footing and wrapped up and taken down for a loss. Zadarius Smith setting the edge. As Zadarius Smith, not just a pass rusher, starting to look like he's maturing as a run stopper.
Yeah, and you're going to have a tough time pressing the edge against this defense. You can see how quickly the linebacking core, Correa just recognized, pulled the trigger, and forced what was supposed to be an outside run inside.
Matt Moore's pass is complete to the far sideline. Coming down with the reception is Leonte Carew and Lardarius Webb there for the stop. Lardarius Webb, I would say, Brian, looks like the default slot corner, the third corner right now. How much do the Ravens want to see a young guy force him to hold on to that job, or are they comfortable that he's the guy at 3, get the young guys developing to give you depth?
Think of the experience. He's been outside. He's been at safety. That's a tough transition because of vision of what you see. It makes him the perfect guy on the inside. He understands what's going on outside. He understands what's going on behind him.
And on 3rd down and long, Matt Moore with a quick toss, and it won't get very far as Eric Weddle is right there to pull Damian Williams down. It'll be 4th and 10, and Miami will have to punt the ball away. Again, the benefit of a great defense. Let's go back to the 4th down failed attempt, failed conversion for the offense. The offense gets backed up inside their 10, and Randy Brown, who's the kicking specialist, is able to make sure his punt team gets the ball to Miami. The defense stops Miami, and now the Ravens, with Michael Campanaro deep, will get another shot at the ball. When you have a great defense, you can play position and possession.
Yeah, and the change of field position, you can be more aggressive on offense, which obviously the Ravens need to do. Take their shots. You can't be silly about it, judicious, but by the same token, having that great defense gives you that latitude.
Scoreless in South Florida, final minute and 11 of the opening quarter. Brian, the addition in the offseason of Jeremy Maclin, Danny Woodhead gives you what I know you like to call framing it up like a basketball team in terms of your personnel and offense you can throw the ball to.
Yeah, I want my receiving core, and I kind of look at Danny Woodhead as part of the receiving core. I don't want all the same player. I need a big man. I need an off forward. I need an off guard. I need a point guard. And so everybody has to fill that role. They've got a lot to fill in losing Dennis Pitta and Steve Smith. They have the history with guys like Woodhead and Maclin to fill in that loss of productivity, to go obviously with what they've already got, hopefully to get Perriman back, Wallace on the outside. Need to start to see a little productivity to round it out at the tight end position. That's going to be a big part of it as well. But they've got the athleticism at the receiver and with Woodhead out of the backfield to complete that full starting 5 that I'm referring to.
Let's see if that starting 5 can get some traction here and get the Ravens out of being bottled up deep in their own territory to start this drive. Ryan Mallett off the deep drop, throwing the deep ball for the first time tonight, and it is intercepted at the Miami 45-yard line. Xavier Howard came down with it. So the good news, Brian, you got to see the long ball. The bad news was the outcome.
Well, the deep throw is all about timing. It's not about the arm strength. It's about the timing and where you place the ball. The DB seemed to be ahead of the receiver there a little bit. I don't know if he hesitated a little bit, little play fake. Ball's got to come out quick. The timing's good. Got lots of air. And all of a sudden now it looks like the DB just read it very well. You're going to see it at the bottom of the screen here. He stuttered step. The DB read it very, very well. For my money, the receiver looked too early. He slowed down as he was looking for the ball. He at the very least should have been able to break that up.
And that was Quincy Adebojo, the rookie free agent who was so sharp in week 1, but some of the nuances of the game getting away from him there. Dave Fales now in at quarterback. Short night for Matt Moore. Fales will hand it off to Sonaris Perry, who gains only 2 yards on the run.
Yeah, and we've seen Miami now come out of that no huddle offense. That seemed to be kind of for Jay Cutler to maybe simplify a little bit. Now with this group in here, more orchestrated calls. That means now the defense can have more orchestrated call up more blitzes, be more creative.
Fales, another quarterback who has a history with Adam Gase. He was the Bears' 6th round pick back in 2014. Fales looking to throw quickly out of the gun. His pass is almost intercepted. Kamale Correa with a diving effort on the pass that was off the mark. Sets up a 3rd down and 7. So Kamale Correa from the inside linebacker spot. What have you seen from him so far, Brian?
Well, more active today than we saw against Washington. This is just a drop zone, 4-man rush. Everybody sitting in the right position. Eyes, you can see through the receiver to the quarterback. Nice break on the ball.
2nd round draft pick a year ago, looking for a much bigger season this year. Only in on 4 tackles.
Could be some pressure coming from up
as
here.
a rookie.
Like I said, defense with a more staid offense can dial up a few more things.
With 7 players at the line. Fails under pressure. Throws it complete inside the 40-yard line where Chuck Clark comes up and makes the stick, but not before the Dolphins move the sticks.
Well, the Ravens rolled the dice. Like I said, it looked like a pressure. It was off that edge. Left an avoided zone down the field to give the quarterback credit for getting the ball off quickly and just dropping it into the zone.
Miami has a first down inside the Ravens' 40-yard line. Final seconds of the opening quarter. Jerry Sandusky, Brian Billick live from the Verizon broadcast booth here in Hard Rock Stadium in South Florida. The Dolphins will not get the ball snapped before we reach the end of the first quarter. A scoreless first quarter in South Florida. Defense the theme on a hot, muggy night in South Florida as the Ravens offense still looking to get some traction against the Dolphins. Work done for some of the starters like Eric Weddle. Once they don the baseball cap, the football night is done. Terrell Suggs also putting on the baseball cap. So the regulars have seen their work tonight. Now we'll start to get a longer look at some of the emerging impact players on this Ravens defense. Scoreless as we start the second quarter here in South Florida. Ryan Mallett on that interception. Kind of a shame that Adebayo didn't run a better route because it was a well-thrown ball.
Yeah, after a play fake, you turn your back to a deep route like that. You got to put the ball up, count on timing, count on your receiver, at the very least to protect you against the interception.
David fails out of the play fake. His pass is caught inside the 30. And spun down with the reception is Jakeem Grant. Out of the coverage is Jalen Hill, who was so sharp in the preseason opener. Look at the numbers for the first quarter. Ravens defense stout to say the least, as once again Dean Pease and his unit allowing only 61 yards, no points. That's a solid start.
And true to their word, it was on 20 plays. What did we say? 20, 20, 20. They stayed with the defense. Terrell Suggs playing the full 20. Good indicator that they're staying true to their formula.
Well, the formula is certainly working defensively. Now in the second quarter, we'll see if it clicks in offensively. Sonoris Perry weaving his way down on the 20-yard line. A flag follows him out of bounds as Albert McClellan, Sheldon Price, and Chuck Clark all force him out of bounds.
Personal foul, grasping the face mask. Defense number 36. Half the distance to the goal, automatic first down.
Chuck Clark, the 6th-round draft pick. Let's head down to the field at Evan Washburn.
Jerry, you mentioned the fact that they hit that 20-play number, so that means this bench is now going to play the remainder of this game, and it is thick down here. You touched on conditions. This field's still a bit of an issue, but they are doing their best with a variety of ways to keep these guys cool. We know technology always at the forefront in the NFL. We've got the fans. They've also got these interesting tubes. It's not a cool bench, but if you stick that tube into the pads like much of these guys are doing, it kind of feels like you're maybe back in that fall weather back in Baltimore.
Evan, we might need some newfangled technology to get this field resurfaced because the tubes and the sidelines look great, but the field is really falling apart. Dolphins in the Grillmates red zone for the first time tonight. Fails pass to the end zone. He overthrows his target, well covered by Sheldon Price.
Yeah, that was actually a good right. Price was in good position, but that was too flat a throw. You get down into the red zone like this, really that's where your top-end quarterbacks have that little bit of touch. Strong on quarterbacks, that's a tough transition for them. Bryant Mallett down in this area is an area he has struggled with where the ball tends to be a little flat. That should have been a touchdown, but for too flat a throw.
2nd and 10 from the 11. Fails with a lone back, Sonoris Perry, who will get the carry, and Perry weaves his way inside the 5, and he's in for the touchdown as the Dolphins strike first. Uncharacteristic of the Ravens defense to give up a gouge running play, but keep in mind Dean Pease has already pulled all of his starters. Nonetheless, can't be happy with what his second team did in the red zone.
Yeah, they were moving around. They were matching up a little bit here, and you see there's an outside defender in here. Look at this gap they left from the get-go, and that's exactly where they got exploited. They tried to bring pressure from the outside, create that edge, and it left them vulnerable in that C gap.
7-play scoring drive, went 56 yards. All set up by an interception. Andrew Franks with the extra point try for the Dolphins. And his kick is good. So the opening drive of the second quarter, the Dolphins jump in front of the Ravens 7-0 in South Florida. John Harbaugh and the Ravens dealing with a significant injury report this summer. Joe Flacco is out for preseason games, but is scheduled to start the season opener in Cincinnati. Tim White injured last week after flashing as a potential return man. And then Alex Lewis, a promising guard, out for the season with a shoulder injury. That's part of the shuffle we have seen in this offensive line that is very much under construction. Now, for the first time in preseason, the Ravens will have to try to play from behind, and the battle for the return job will now turn to Taquan Mizell, the rookie free agent out of Virginia. Call him Smoke. We'll see if he can leave a trail of smoke here on the kick return. Frank's kick will carry into the end zone, and Smoke will stay in park. He takes the knee. Let's go back to the touchdown, Brian, and take a look at where the breakdown was.
Yeah, and if the backups come in, I talked about they flatten the defense out in here. The safety, Levine comes down in the safety position here. He's basically a linebacker, and they want to use him in this capacity in nickel. And right now, when you flatten the defense like that, these linebackers or safeties, however you want to label them, have to come in and be able to make those kind of open field plays. I've got a feeling that if the starters would have been in there, that wouldn't have been a touchdown.
Well, the starters remain in on the offensive side for John Harbaugh, as he will have Jeremy Maclin still out there, Ryan Mallett continuing to take the snaps. And if you're wondering why the defensive players are out, the offensive players are still in with the 20-20-20 scheme. The Ravens on offense have only had the ball 10 plays.
Yeah, they need more out of the offense just from an evaluation standpoint. They're back now into a standard backfield, which would indicate we're going to get a little more of the downhill running.
Nick Boyle shifts to the backfield. It's a diamond formation, and Terrence West has to sidestep a tackle, but will lose a yard on the carry behind an offensive line that is very much under construction, as we have said throughout the preseason, much like the team facility in Owings Mills that is being extended and is in the process of undergoing construction. And when you have a construction project, it doesn't always look pretty at the moment, but the outcome, you know, will be something you can really work with and live with, and that's what the Ravens are hoping this offensive line can evolve into, just like their facility, the Castle at Owings Mills. Mallett on the play fake on second down, slings it complete to Jeremy Maclin, who is taken down shy of the 35-yard line. But Brian, the more the Ravens can see Jeremy Maclin developing rapport with the quarterbacks, the more you have the answer to the question, who's getting the ball on third down?
Yeah, there's no question about it in terms of, and they've got the potential for this. We've seen a standard backfield here because what? If I can get the downhill running game started, I'm going to get more one-on-one coverage on the outside, and I have the players, whether it be Macklin, whether it be Wallace, whether it be Perriman when he comes back in, whether it's Woodhead out of the backfield. I like those matchups.
And Boy Joe is deep to the near side. Maclin will throw out of the gun on third down. Pocket collapsing. Macklin's pass is caught. Ben Watson reaching out to make his first catch as a Baltimore Raven, and that will keep the offense on the field.
Yeah, nice job by Ryan Mallett here. This is one where typically you might have got it pulled down. You can see pressure come off this right side, almost a free rusher, drops his shoulder down, protects the ball, and delivers the ball. This is a nice kind of a touch throw. Typically this would get overpowered. Austin Howard kind of got beat, showing his the fact that he's been out of it a little bit, got beat quickly off that outside. Ben Watson with his first catch. Terrence West will try to carry, and he is stuffed in the backfield. He'll lose a couple. He had nowhere to go, and it was Ndamukong Suh that created the penetration on that defensive line along with Vincent Taylor. Well, with the counter games that they have, sometimes they will pull someone to show the counter and try to stay straight ahead, but Ndamukong Suh just took the interior of the offensive line of the Baltimore Ravens and shoved it right back into the backfield. 4-yard loss for Terrence West, sets up a 2nd and 14 at the Ravens' 39-yard line between the 39 and the 40. Woodhead's back in out of the backfield. Sneaking into a screen. Tries to throw it his way, but put it over top of Woodhead. And that sets me third down. Tonight's Ravens Game Day Network presented by Geico. Jerry Bryan with you from the Verizon broadcast booth. And now Ryan Mallett puts himself into, and I don't care if you're Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Johnny Unitas, or any other Hall of Fame quarterback, 3rd and 14 is never quarterback friendly. No, it isn't. And typically what have we seen? We've seen the draw or the ball drop out of the backfield. I'd like to see him make a conversion down here. You're seeing on the left side right into here, these guys together. This is where your money is right here. This is where you've got Wallace and Maclin on the same side, both setting each other up.
Now having to run, buy some time. His pass is caught. Mike Wallace at the 41-yard line of the Dolphins, and that keeps the offense on the field with the first down.
Nice protection by the offensive line. We just saw the offensive line get stuffed in a run, and now with just a simple four-man rush, passing it off on the inside. Nice job. He waits till the last second, breaks the defense down by getting to the outside, and now obviously you see Wallace working across. Nice job there again. What is it? It's a scramble drill. Where do I go if the quarterback breaks outside? Who's going deep? Who's crossing? Who breaks underneath?
We talked in the pregame about the impact of having bigger names, bigger targets for Ryan Mallett. You can see a comfort level when he's throwing to those guys. Buck Allen going to carry, big hole. He's inside the 30 and taken down at the 27-yard line of the Dolphins. Biggest run of the night for the Ravens as they gain 14 on the play.
Nice job by Marty Morningwig coming back and running the exact play that just got stuffed. But now they had Firmer on the front side, the pull on the backside kicked out, the rush in, huge hole to be able to cut back against the grain of the defense.
Marty Morningwig is a classic West Coast kind of schooled guy, and this year using the Greg Roman running game. It's a challenge I want to talk to you about as we continue here, how you fold those two philosophies together. Buck Allen will get the carry again, a nice hole, and he'll weave his way down to the 22-yard line. Late flag on the play. Dolphins pointing in the direction of the Ravens.
They're fighting.
Offense number 78. 10-yard penalty, first down.
Holding penalty on Austin Howard. Howard having a bit of a trouble here. The Ravens are making some hay, though, notwithstanding the hold here, to where this move and then cut back. He gets jumps up. Really didn't need it. The minute he threw his hands up, you knew he knew. Nah, I didn't need it for one, and they're going to call it. But the Ravens are getting a little mileage now with this strong side and then cutting back to the weak side. We'll see if they continue with it.
Buck Allen doesn't seem to be having the footing issues that some of the other backs have had tonight on both teams. Mallett to throw on first down. His pass is almost intercepted. He was looking for Chris Matthews. Instead, he almost found Alteron Werner. Is this just a communication issue?
Yeah, I don't know if Matthews, whether he thought Matthews, looks like Matthews was trying to break out rather than in, and it confused Mallett. Now Matthews was complaining about being held, but Werner obviously read it a lot better than Matthews did.
2nd and 15. Ball is at the Miami 32. 9.5 minutes to play in the opening half. Carrots West with Mallett in the backfield. And Mallett with the pocket collapsing. His pass is incomplete. It went through the hands of Matthews. And a flag is down. Ryan Mallett has to separate his center, Ryan Jensen.
Yeah, he said, you can't get kicked out, okay? We're thin enough as it is. I don't want to have to deal with another center at this point.
Terry McCauley, a referee.
Holding, offense, number 68, 10-yard penalty, second down.
Matt Skura, who's getting the start tonight in this scrambled offensive line. Skura is one of the guys that are trying to see if he can develop into a center and a guard and give you some depth. You can't do it with holding penalties.
Yeah, and with the offensive line, it's a hard thing, because you can have a great game. Well, I only had one holding penalty. But if all starting offensive 5 offensive line have that's 5 holding penalties, that doesn't add up. So obviously right now they're a little bit on their heels. We've had a couple penalties. We've had 2 holding penalties. Now Mallett's got to try to get back to a convertible third down here on 2nd and forever.
Inside handoff. Terrence West is going to be stuffed right at the line of scrimmage. Big pressure coming from Mike Hall up the middle. And now you're back into a situation where you either go for it here, punt the ball, try to get it into the red zone, or let Justin Tucker try to kick a 60-yarder if you don't get some yardage here on third down and 26.
That's where the play call is. The play call right now has to be, how do I get into a realistic field goal position? Now, for Justin Tucker, you're there.
Yeah.
That's the good news.
I mean, warm weather?
Yeah, I'm going to get some more yardage here. Rather than a down the field throw, I imagine we're going to see something underneath to try to pick up a few yards.
Mallett does exactly that, finds Michael Campanaro, who gets his way down to the 33-yard line. And we will see Justin Tucker for the first time tonight. Tucker hit from 59 at home last week. Last year, of course, missing only 1, and that miss was a block in New England. His long last year, 57. His long this preseason, 59. The long in his career, 61. And his long in practice is close to 70 yards.
I can't imagine. Now, this got to be a heavier ball. I mean, I don't know. I don't know kicking from, a hole in the ground. But I got to imagine this has got to be a heavier ball he's kicking right now.
It's a 52-yard attempt. Sam Cook with a hole. Tucker's kick is up, and it is good. Justin Tucker hits from 52. And with 7:56 left to play in the half, the Ravens on the board for the first time as Justin Tucker with a perfect hole from Sam Cook put that one in, and as the Ravens on the board in South Florida, trailing by 4. (7-3) Dolphins in front of the Ravens. The Geico scoring drive. The Ravens 11 plays, 36 yards, just under 6 minutes. Justin Tucker caps it with a 52-yard field goal. Special teams, I would say, Brian, the emphasis is on special this year with these two kickers.
Well, what a comfort zone. You talk about the confidence your defense gives you in certain situations to do things offensively. The comfort zone in that situation right there going, look, we don't need a whole lot. We're going to come away with 3 points because of the consistency of Tucker, and obviously Sam Cook can change the field position battle at any given kick.
Ravens fans, this year McDonald's is partnering with the Baltimore Ravens. If you download the McDonald's app, you get exclusive daily and weekly deals, and now try out mobile ordering for added convenience. Well, when you think about the way this Ravens team is shaping up, really strong defense, an offense, as we've talked about, the line under construction, you're going to need your special teams. Justin Tucker will kick it inside the 5-yard line. It is mishandled. Finally picked up and returned and fumbled again. Loose ball at the 20-yard line, and the Ravens have it as Justin Tucker picks up the ball and is taken out of bounds, and the Ravens will have it in the Grillmates red zone.
How fired up is he?
And Tucker, a flag is down. It won't be a celebration flag.
Return, holding, receiving team number 37. Penalties decline. First down.
I thought that was just, well, if the kicker recovers the ball, that's got to be a penalty in there someplace.
You would almost say karma, right?
That's just not right.
So on the return, Sonoris Perry just could not keep his hand on the ball. And then Justin Tucker, a guy who makes his living with his feet, pretty nimble pickup.
Nice job, little scoop
with his hands.
I don't know how often they work the scoop and score with the kickers, but this is pretty good. Bends
I'm thinking exactly never.
True. He was facing the wrong way. I'm just glad he didn't scoop it and head off the other way.
Ball to the Dolphins 24. Mallett with the inside handoff to Campanaro, who lunges his way down to the 13-yard line. That's a gain of 11 and a Ravens first down.
Yeah, this is just that little ghost sweep or jet sweep that people talk about. You're going to see motion coming in from here. All of a sudden now you outflank the defense, usually get the ball in a turnover. You're going to see a vertical shot down the field. Maybe whatever special you have is going to show up in that area.
And now in the Grillmates red zone, Michael Campanaro had 3 carries last year for 72 yards. It's a way for Marty Morningwig to get his receivers involved in the game in non-obvious passing situations.
Big bodies now. They want to pound this thing in from here, I promise you.
Buck Allen will get the carry, waits for a hole, and he'll power his way down to the 10 for 3 tough yards. This is what this tight end group is really built for. Ben Watson is going to be most likely the receiver they use to stretch the seam, but for the most part, these are blocking tight ends the Ravens have in their roster.
And go back to Greg Roman's background in San Francisco. It was 2 and 3 tight ends in these power formations, the Jim Harbaugh, Michigan effect, or then at that time Stanford effect. Now they take these big guys and they stretch them out a little bit.
Mallett off the play fake. His pass is complete to Buck Allen at the 8-yard line. It'll be 3rd and goal from there. Back to the tight ends as we take a look at the group that Marty Morningwig is working with. Nick Boyle is a tremendous blocker. Ben Watson, we know, is a great receiver. He had 72 catches 2 years ago in New Orleans. Larry Donnell, a free agent pickup from the Giants, and Max Williams, I think, Brian, is kind of the X factor in this group. If he really recovers from that knee surgery, he could be something special.
Yeah, and that's the key. We're not going to get the productivity out of the tight end position that we've seen in years past, but that's okay. They can still be productive in the role that they have.
Buck Allen in the backfield on a 3rd down and 5. Not 3rd and goal, 3rd and 5. Mallett looking to the end zone. He fires his pass deflected. A flag is down. He was looking for Chris Matthews in the end zone.
Offense number 74. Penalties decline. 4th down.
Well, like I said, everybody's taking their turn at the holding. Everybody across the board. We've seen Howard with the holding penalty. We've seen Skur with the holding penalty. And now we see inside with
James Hurst.
With the hold. So, like I said, you get to the end of the game, and I only had one. You know, if you all take one, it's not good.
Especially in the red zone. Because now you're not going to go for it on 4th and 5. You're going to bring in Justin Tucker. And this, I think we're getting a feel for the way the Ravens season could play out in the early stages. A 27-yard field goal try for Justin Tucker, and he is good. 2 for 2 for Justin Tucker tonight. Set up by the fumble recovery by Justin Tucker. These are special teams. 7-6, Dolphins in front of the Ravens. 11:38 to play here in the opening half. The Geico scoring drive, 5 plays, 15 yards. Justin Tucker capping it with a 27-yard field goal. This offense has and will rely heavily on scoring from Justin Tucker.
Yeah, I mean, the reliability this guy has, you know, obviously John Harbaugh and his special teams background, that being his expertise. And then there again, this is just manna from heaven. This is the football gods being kind.
And the showman.
Yeah, you can do that. You can get away with this. And believe me, Justin Tucker knows he can get away with that. That might have been a penalty in years past. Not now. They've changed it. And he comes back and converts another 3. Mr. Steady Eddie.
So 2 field goals for Justin Tucker, a 1-point game as the Dolphins lead it, and you have started to get a sense for what this 2017 Ravens team could look like in the early phases. And I point to that, Brian, because Joe Flacco will take no snaps in preseason. So there's going to be an adjustment period in the regular season as he gets his timing down with Ben Watson, with Jeremy Maclin, guys he's never played in games with before.
And the decisions you have to make based on the defense, on having a Tucker, having a Cook being able to punt the ball, the risk ratio, benefit risk ratio of the calls that you're going to make all come into play.
Davion Smith takes the kickoff out of the end zone, and he is swarmed down. A big hit by Lamar Lewis after a return to the 21. Back to the celebration. Justin Tucker showing a little bit of flair. The celebration rule, one of the new changes that I think is going to change the look of the NFL this year. You saw Justin Tucker use that very first one. He used the football as a prop. Now you can do it after a touchdown or after a turnover. You can celebrate on the ground. You can have group celebrations. But here's what you still cannot do.
And that's the key. This affects the game. They're trying to let the emotion in the game play out, but you don't want to embarrass an opponent, and on the same token, you don't want to slow down the game. So as long as you're not doing that, they're going to give you some latitude.
The gray area will be offensive celebrations. To the ground game for the Dolphins, and across the 20-yard line is Storm Johnson. He's taken down by Peanut Onwasu. Onwasu is one of the players who is competing for playing time alongside of C.J. Mosley. We talked about Kamale Correa. Onwasu was a rookie free agent a year ago, and it is a part of that 13-year string of consecutive years where a rookie free agent has made this squad. Now he's trying to make it more as an impact every down player this year if he can crack the lineup.
Yeah, and like you said, special teams is going to be the key for him to show that he can have value there rather than and then get the opportunity, because that's what it does. It just opens an opportunity for you to maybe get some playing time on the defensive side of the ball.
Dolphins back to the ground game. Short run for maybe 2 yards. Under 5 minutes to play here in the opening half. Jerry Sandusky, Brian Billick with you live from the Verizon broadcast booth on a steamy night in South Florida. Wasu, a 24-year-old out of Portland State. I think it speaks to the scouting approach that the Ravens use, that they find these guys who don't show up on draft day on any of the 32 teams, and yet they find a way to become impact players as Ravens. On 3rd down, David fails, lofts it, and it is broken up. Good coverage at the 45-yard line. That was Adam Levine and the young man we saw last week, Jalen Hill, who continues to make a name for himself as an undrafted rookie free agent.
Was it not? And again, this is going to be classic Ravens. They're going to bring pressure from the outside. Here they're bringing a 5 and a delayed 6-man rush. That means one-on-one on the outside with the safety coming over the top. We saw this turn into an interception last week. Jalen Hill doing a nice job. Was that not just a joy listening to that young man last night in our production meeting?
And the Ravens block the kick. A flag is down as the kick is blocked. The ball is recovered inside the 5-yard line. And Chris Matthews comes up with the loose ball, and if the flag does not negate the play, the Ravens are going to have their best field position of the night.
My guess is that maybe someone was offsides to get that good.
There are 2 fouls on the kicking team. Illegal shift.
Wow.
That penalty's decline. Holding, kicking team, number 31. That penalty's decline. First down.
So John Harbaugh seeing the other part of his special teams, not just the kickers, but the special teams, the block unit, coming up with a huge play. And now the Ravens will have the ball in the Grillmates red zone, knocking at the door.
Yeah, this is real simple. It's just a 3-by-3 rush on either side. So there's nothing fancy here. They're not doing anything different. And you can see they weren't ready for it. You had the upbacks of the Miami Dolphins standing there with their hands up going, hey, wait a minute. They weren't ready for this. So taking nothing away from Matthews, the guy that was supposed to block him is standing holding his hands up as though the play was supposed to stop.
Get a free pass. You better take it. Chris Matthews does. Buck Allen, the deep back in the eye. He'll get the carry. He's got a seam, pushes his way down to the 1-yard line. It'll be second and goal from there. We've talked about job battles. Chris Matthews is a veteran receiver, but he knows to make this team, he has to make plays on special teams, and he just did.
Yeah, and at 6'5" and 218 pounds, he's got the big body type that's vogue in the NFL right now. I mean, you can have the scat back inside and the slot guy, but we're a league that now is coveting these big receivers on the outside. Made a lot of plays in practice. Obviously got to show up in the games as well, and doing it on special teams, because odd as it sounds, that 4th and 5th guy on your roster at the receiver position needs to be good special teams. Jake Reed, big-time receiver for me in Minnesota, eventually started out his first 2-3 years in the league as being a solid special teams guy.
And we've got a break in the action as Ryan Mallett is going to walk to the sideline and talk things over with Marty Morningwig. This is an important play for the Ryan Mallett offense, because they want to just show that, look, will you give us good field position, we're going to punch the ball in the end zone. The offense hasn't shown a lot tonight, on a night John Harbaugh was probably looking to see some growth from Ryan Mallett. So you get good field position, you have to score here. You need a touchdown here, psychologically as much as strategically.
And from the standpoint of evaluation, you also will not want to see, okay, they kind of know that. We know we're going to pound it in. How about a play action fake and see Ryan Mallett put the right touch on the ball to get the ball in the end zone? I mean, it's good either way. I'd like to see Ryan Mallett make one of those plays, but if they just pound this thing in, I'm okay with that too.
Go with 3 tight ends. To give it to Buck Allen, and Buck Allen will not get in on 2nd and goal. It's 3rd and goal. Let's go down to the field and Evan Washburn.
Well, Jerry, as we talked about the evaluation process for a lot of these undrafted free agents, Patrick Ricard's actually been in a number of these goal line situations, listed as a defensive lineman, but in these jumbo goal line situations, he's offered a blocking presence, guys.
Appreciate that, Evan. That's
a big body. You talk about a presence, that would have a presence.
And here's Mallett off the play fake, pumps once. Now he goes back to the left. He's got a man wide open for the touchdown. Larry Donnell on the receiving end, and the Ravens have their first lead of the night. That's all Ryan Mallett.
And that's what I'm talking about. That is good. That is something you want to see out of Ryan Mallett. When you play fake like that, typically they have a guy to the corner, a guy to the flat. Miami was not buying it. They were ready for it. So now he didn't panic. He bought some time. He has the strong arm that he can survey the field, make that throw across, almost bounced it in there now. So he short-armed it just a bit, but nice play by Ryan Mallett, turning something into a positive after Miami actually had the right defense dialed up.
Well, he had his long throw earlier in the year that was the night that was intercepted, so I'm sure he was thinking, keep this one in the body frame.
5-yard penalty.
This looks like a substitution there, and this is tough in this part of the game as well, because now you have your starters out, and now Jerry Rosburg, wow. You know, you look at his depth chart and who's in the second quarter, the third quarter, the fourth quarter. This guy's out, that guy goes in. That's tough to do for the special teams coach. Still, John Harbaugh's not going to be happy about it. He's not going to use that as an excuse, but that's tough.
Turns it into a 38-yard extra point attempt for Justin Tucker. And that is every bit as routine as a 33-yard extra point attempt for Justin Tucker. So the offense gets its first touchdown, but keep in mind this was part of the special teams play. Chris Matthews coming up with a block punt. He recovered it, gave the Ravens the ball inside their own 10-yard line, and the special teams continuing to come up big, setting up the offense. The Ryan Mallett coach, this is what you wanted to see.
Nice
Mallett
job.
having to kind of shift, make an adjustment, and make the right adjustment.
And there's nothing harder than hitting a wide open guy in the end zone. It's please, Lord, don't let me overthrow it. Don't let me underthrow it. Nice play by Ryan Mallett. Showed the ability to adjust after the primary and secondary were not open, as they would say. The tertiary was there. How about that?
You just dropped the tertiary in the broadcast. That's impressive.
Since I've talked about hitting the tertiary receiver.
That's worth like 96 points in Scrabble, I believe.
That's right.
The guy goes scoring drive, 5 plays, 15 yards,
Don't
2
ask me to
minutes.
spell it. Don't ask me
And
to
they
spell
cap it with a Ryan Mallett touchdown pass. T-E-R.
Yeah.
Airy.
Airy.
Justin Tucker's kickoff will be taken 8 yards deep and brought out of the end zone and dropped to the 13-yard line. A flag is down. It was Torrey McTire on the return. Bam Bradley made helmet-to-helmet contact on the player that was sliding. And
During
this
return, holding, receiving team number 84. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
I'm thrilled they did not throw that flag because the runner lost his footing when Bradley was going to hit him, and then had a helmet-to-helmet. They did not throw the flag.
And that's always the tough one. You know, you're not aiming that way. It just kind of falls.
Twitter question for you, Brian, is this one from Frank Hauser Jr. As far as expectations go, do you expect the top 5 defense out of this unit this year? Certainly have the personnel. What do you think?
There's no question. Last week we talked about breaking it into quartiles, which means groups of 8. Clearly a top quartile team, meaning basically a top 10 defense. No reason not to think they're not going to be a top 5 defense. Starting from the inside out, the presence with Williams and Pierce. We still have to see if someone can develop that outside pass rush off of Suggs. Secondary is going to be much improved from last year.
Dolphins start deep in their own territory. The Miami 7. Under 3 minutes left in the opening half. Fales will hand it off to Perry, and he will get nowhere on the play. Take a look at some key numbers from the Ravens defense a year ago. Dean Pease, his defense ranked 9th in the NFL in points allowed, 7th in yards allowed. It was injuries late in the season that dropped them out of the #1 ranking, and that's why they wanted to go out and get Marlon Humphrey in the cornerback position, Tony Jefferson at safety, because I think Dean Pease felt like with the right personnel, this could be, as you mentioned, a top quartile defense.
And the only numbers Dean Pease will tell you he's interested in is scoring defense, third down defense, red zone defense.
And wins.
And wins, obviously. And that will lead to wins. But those are the ones that he prides himself on being good defense.
David Fales is hit in the end zone and throws the ball complete. It is complete to his tight end, Marquise Gray. And Zadarius Smith thought he had a safety, and Fales was able to get the ball out of his hands at the very last second for the completion.
Well, that's a frustrating one because you got him in the grasp, and now you're going to make a play. Comes right over it, swims. He got a little holding. He could have got away with holding on that one.
Ravens fans, we invite a party with a flock at the 2017 Countdown to Kickoff Party presented by Miller Lite, Friday, September 8th at the Maryland State Fairgrounds, featuring live performances by Shinedown and Biffy Clyro. Tickets are just $15 for general admission. Include fun activities, appearances by Ravens players, alumni, and more. Visit BaltimoreRavens.com/kickoff. 2 minutes left to play, opening half. The Ravens in front of the Miami Dolphins. 13-7. David Fales, blitz coming his way. His pass is incomplete, broken up by Jalen Hill, rookie free agent out of Jacksonville State. Brian, we had a chance to visit with him at length last night. This is a kid who brings not just talent but joy to football.
He did. He had a smile on his face. He was, and we get used to visiting all the players, and we had a chance to visit with Marlon Humphrey, and last week Tim Williams, kind of a big program like Alabama, and kind of a staid approach to them. This guy was I'm just thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to be anyway. I had to walk on to Jacksonville State. I got to basically walk on here to make it in the NFL, and he's well on his way to doing just that.
Matt Darr will punt it to Keenan Reynolds, but the ball will sail out of bounds. Reynolds does not get a hand on it. So Jalen Hill, one of those guys who's trying to extend that streak the Ravens have 13 years running. Every year of those 13 years, an undrafted rookie free agent has made the team. Some of the guys that have a shot of extending that to 14 years, Patrick Ricard, Jalen Hill, Daquan Mizell, Quincy Adebojo, and it's an impressive group that they are joining if they can do that, Brian, because one of the guys in that string is Justin Tucker.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, and three of these guys, I would say for sure, Ricard, Hill, and Mazzell look to be locks, notwithstanding injuries and some other things going on. On the field, this is great for the Baltimore Ravens. They get to practice a 2-minute. Nice situation now for Ryan Mallett to exercise his ability to work a 2-minute offense.
And he completes it to Adebayo. The Dolphins saying they have it. Adebayo took the ball to the turf. The officials converge. Drea Tankersley stripped the ball away from Quincy Adebayo, and the Dolphins are going to have the ball and a chance to work with 1:40 left in the half.
And this could bring about, change of possession inside 2 minutes. That comes from obviously from above as to whether this is a challenge. I don't know how clear cut it is. We're going to have to see.
The question is whether Adebayo went to the ground with the ball or if Tankersley took the ball away from him before he went to the ball. See what you can see, Brian.
Well, it looks like he was bobbing it a little bit. Yeah, it's hard to see that. It looks like he didn't have a lot of control. Of course, we're looking on the back end. We'll get a better view of it here. Didn't have clean control of it right there. Now, where did the ball come out? That's a tough one. And you got to rely on the officials. They're right there. Did he get it going down? Had the knee already been down? And I don't know that we saw anything that would overturn it. Remember, it's got to be incontrovertible. They've done away with the peep show in the booth. Now you bring out the Surface, Microsoft Surface, for them to look at it. Let's also remember now the decision is being made in New York.
Right.
So even this part of it, I would advocate, why do we even need this? I mean, yeah, I get to look at it, but you're going to tell me what you see. The two looks that we saw, and keep in mind now it's a preseason game. We don't have all the cameras you typically have during a regular season game. But the two that we saw, there's nothing you could see there to say it's going to overturn.
So Terry McCauley taking a closer look, brought to you by Toyota. It's Al Riveron's crew in New York at the league headquarters that has the ultimate say. McCauley, the referee, does have some input. That's why he wears the headset.
And the setup they have in New York is impressive, particularly when you know there's obviously 16 games or 15 games going on in a given time. And again, nothing we can see here that you could say absolutely. See, he never really has control. I'd normally say, you know what, he had this going to the knee, but I don't know that he ever had any real possession of it. So I got to believe there's certainly nothing here to indicate that you're going to overturn the call.
The ruling on the field stands. Interception, first down.
And if you're going to look at the use of replay, John Harbaugh is not at all happy with it. But that is the correct use of replay if you don't see clear evidence that the call was wrong. Now, had they called that a completion, it would stand as a completion.
Right, and the verbiage is important. This play stands. It doesn't mean the play's confirmed. We didn't see anything to absolutely say it happened that way, but it stands. We're going with what was called on the field.
Which is why you can't minimize the role of officials, even in the replay era. You cannot rely on replay to always correct mistakes, because the play will stand if the angle is not clear to show a different outcome. So David Fales now will throw from his 40-yard line, completes it, as Lewis takes it out of bounds, stopping the clock with 1:36 left. So now instead of a 2-minute drill on offense, the Ravens get a 2-minute drill on defense.
And it's a great teaching moment. Your defense gets them out, keeps them down. You get the punt. Now the offense gets to go on a 2-minute. Now all of a sudden you're going to turn, hey guys, let's go, rally it up. Now you got to regroup. Who's in the game? What are they doing? This is all part of the teaching process. You'd like not to have to go through it in a game, but in terms of an evaluation, this is a positive for the Ravens to deal with.
Second down and 8, a little more than 1:30 left in the half. Fails under pressure, heaves it far sideline, incomplete. Well covered on the play by Trevin Wade. Stops the clock with 1:32. Stop the Dolphins here, you might get the ball back.
Yeah, the Ravens secondary, these young guys, we just saw Hill make the same kind of play, are showing a nice body presence. They understand he had the receiver pinned to the sideline. He knew he could trail inside. He knew he was safe. So he didn't have to overplay it. He didn't have to reach up and run into the receiver. They're showing a nice presence in terms of knowing where they are on the field and what technique they need to use.
Third down and 8, Fails signaling out an adjustment.
A little pressure. Let's see if they keep up with it.
They'll bring the pressure. Fails pass is deflected and almost intercepted. And it was Tyus Bowser who almost got the pick as he lunged for the ball. It was Fails who swats the ball away and prevented the interception.
Well, we showed you the fact that they were showing a little pressure early. They're gobbling up the gaps on the inside. That gets protection all wound up one-on-one on the outside. Nice job. The key is not can I find a guy to catch it, can I find a guy to tip it. Nice job by Judon, putting it up in the air. That's where the volleyball drill comes in. We used to work with the volleyball. See if guys can get underneath it and pop it up. Keenan Reynolds on the return. No, he's going to call a fair catch.
And the Ravens will get the ball back inside their 15-yard line with 1:20 left to play. So all in all, pretty good defensive 2-minute drill. They held the Dolphins to 2 yards in 20 seconds.
Yeah, again, let's talk about the teaching component of it. I had to yank my defense back onto the field. All right, guys, we got a turnover. We got a rally. Nice series. And now when you're looking up here, and basically we ran what? 20 seconds off the clock? 29 seconds, I think it was, 1:49 when the Ravens had the ball. So, you know, this is excellent. Now, what do you want to do with Ryan Mallett here? Do I want to continue to try to make something happen here? Am I going to be content? I can just run a couple draws here and we can go into the locker room. I want to see if he can make some plays down the field. This is preseason. Let's find out.
Inside handoff. Buck Allen looking for a seam. He'll get about 2 yards. That's not what they were looking for. Traditionally, offensive coordinators look to see if they can bust a run early. Then they're going to try to go out and hit on an explosive play. Mallett 9 for 16. His number's very similar to a week ago against the Washington Redskins.
The exception being right here. And one of them really wasn't his fault, you know, but there again, that's not by way of excuse. But Ryan Mallett with a more enhanced receiving core, kind of the same numbers that he had last week, and again we'll have another chance next week. We'll see if Ryan Mallett stays in the game coming out at half. I don't believe he will. So yeah, I mean.
So I heard you use this phrase when you were coaching. It is what it is. He is who he is. Yeah. So as coaches, you sit down and then you evaluate. Okay, we know kind of who he is. Is that good enough for the role we have for him?
Yeah, right now it has to be.
Buck Allen on the sweep,
depending on what else you're going to look at.
And now Miami will use a timeout.
Good move, because they see, okay, they've thrown up the white flag a little bit. 2 runs. We know that you're just going to try to get us out of the quarter. But Miami's sitting here with enough timeouts to go, okay, I'm going to take a chance. Maybe I get a block punt. Maybe I get a return. Maybe I get an opportunity now to get my team back on the field and see if I can get a chance to come away with a score and at least maybe cut the deficit in half, if not get a touchdown.
Miami Dolphins second-year head coach Adam Gase. Adam Gase was actually discovered by Dean Pease. Get a chance, I'll share that story with you. If not, we'll do it in the second half. It's a remarkable story of how one coach can give rise to another. A little quick toss to the tight end, Max Williams, who sheds 2 tacklers and lunges forward to pick up their first down.
Huge play.
Max Williams, second-round pick a year ago in Minnesota, 2 years ago in Minnesota, second effort, and gives the Ravens a chance to stay on the field with the offense.
Now, if they speed up, and yeah, okay, this changes the momentum a little bit.
Mallett's pass is knocked down at the line of scrimmage. That was Jordan Phillips who got a hand on it. He was looking to throw a crossing pattern, and Phillips knocked it down. It stops the clock with 42 seconds left to play. Back to Adam Gase. When Dean Pease was an assistant coach at Michigan State, Adam Gase arrives on campus as a student and looking to do something. He kind of asks, hey, can I get an internship? It's Dean Pease who, after talking to him, says, this is a bright kid. Talks to Nick Saban to put him on the staff, and lo and behold, a decade later, Adam Gase is a head coach in the NFL.
Yeah, it's you know, Lou Holtz never played college football.
Right.
Jed Fish, a young man on my staff that's now the coordinator in UCLA, brilliant young coach, saying I just early on decided I want to coach. I want to learn to coach and take an opportunity of it. And Adam Gase, he's the quarterback whisperer now. He's done a heck of a job wherever he's been, and trying to do the same thing. It's really tough that they lost Ryan Tannehill. This was his time to come step up and kind of show that he had evolved. Reached out now to Jay Cutler, someone he's given a lot of credit for the job that he did with him in Chicago. So this is a team that obviously looks staring up at the New England Patriots, but thinks they can be pretty good, particularly if they have stability at the quarterback position with Jay Cutler.
And if we think it's not an incestuous type of a business, Adam Gase is married to Joe Vitt's daughter. Joe Vitt, the former assistant head coach with the New Orleans Saints, now an assistant under Adam Gase. Coaches like coaches.
Now,
that's
let me
just
see
the way
here.
it works.
My father-in-law works
False
for
start.
me.
Offense number 66.
Whoa, that
5-yard
was an interesting
penalty.
one.
First down.
Penalty of the play, so 32 seconds left in the half. That's right. So Joe Vitt is now an assistant. He's a kind of consultant coach on Adam Gase's staff. Look, your brother-in-law, Mike Smith, is defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. And was once on your staff. Football is family. Ryan Mallett throws complete to Campanero, who gets it out to the 40-yard line. Clock is running. 27 seconds left. The Ravens trying to get Justin Tucker in position for one more field goal attempt.
I don't need much when it comes to Justin Tucker. I like them doing this. This is good work for Ryan Mallett.
No timeouts to work with. Mallett throws the check down pass to Quan Mizell. Short gain on the play. Mizell will get it out to the 46-yard line.
Yeah, he's just going to put it in the dirt.
4 seconds left. Mallett turfs the ball, so you don't get a field goal try. You have no time left unless you want to try a 70-yard field goal try.
And Tucker's just sprinting over to John. I can do this. I can do this. Yeah,
Jerry Rothberg in the head shake.
Nah. You know, Matt Stover used to, and we had a routine where Matt at the beginning of every quarter would tell me where do I need to be, and I learned from Matt Stover. I give him a lot of credit for my ability to deal with the kicker and learning the mentality of that. Because you don't want to turn to a guy and say, hey, can you make this? Well, yeah, he's a man. He's going to say, no, coach, I can't. So I wonder where that mark is for Tucker. If they were going to do that, does he go to John at the beginning of every quarter? Just get it to 50, coach. Just every week, just get it to the 50.
I mean, they're not at the 50, and Tucker is campaigning for a shot. They're at the 46.
He's going, come on.
So that's a 64-yard try from here.
Look at it, look at that, look at that. He's lobbying big time. Look at Rosberg's going, you want me to go to the head coach and say, give us a shot?
Well, the Ravens pick up a flag for delay of game, so that negates the campaign. Because even Justin Tucker, he says, all right, I can't hit it from 76, whatever it's going to be.
And you're back to now. Ryan Mallett, if nothing, has a strong arm now. So if you're going to run around and try to do the alley-oop and the victory, they're not lined up for the victory formation to do that. So I don't think they're going to take that shot down the field.
It's the inside handoff. And Quan Mizell will run into Dolphins territory as time expires. He's taken down to the 44-yard line, and that will do it for the first half. 1 half down in South Florida. The Ravens in front. 13-7 in front of the Miami Dolphins. It has been the Justin Tucker show in the first half. 2 field goals, a fumble recovery. And Justin Tucker has the Ravens in front by 6 in front of the Dolphins. Justin Tucker with a pair of field goals and a fumble recovery off of a block, as he has done just about everything, including put on the best show here in the showtown of South Florida. His celebration, all part of the new rules this year in the NFL. Players allowed to use the ball as a prop in their celebration, and Justin Tucker always ready to jump on a new rule in his favor. We came into this game with a couple of questions and headlines. The play at quarterback with Joe Flacco out for preseason. Ryan Mallett, his numbers tonight against Miami very similar to a week ago against Washington. The difference tonight, 2 interceptions, so he has not really taken a major step into helping his cause, though he did throw a touchdown pass late in the half. The offensive line has struggled tonight, and for understandable reasons. James Hurst has played right tackle. He's been practicing at left guard, and he started tonight at left tackle. Austin Howard in his first game as a Baltimore Raven, struggling at times, again expected as he settles in as part of this offensive line that remains very much under construction. We haven't seen that much of Marlon Humphrey so far, though I do anticipate, Brian, we will see a great deal of the rookie here in the second half.
Yeah, that was a priority for them, visiting with the coaches last night. They want to put him in a lot of positions. They know he's going to be a good football player. They know he's going to hold up. But he didn't get to play last week, and now they want to see what he's going to do.
And we hope in the second half to see something more from the returns. Most of the return opportunities tonight have been fair catches or kicks out of bounds or kicks deep into the end zone. So we'll see if Chris Moore, Michael Campanero, Keenan Reynolds, or Taquan Mizell can separate from the pack and see if they can't start to secure that job. Let's head down to the field and Evan Washburn.
Well, guys, just a quick update here before we start this third quarter. Your touch on Marlon Humphrey. He just walked out of the locker room without any pads on, so his night looks to be done with just a few snaps under his belt. Again, he started training camp hot, then had an undisclosed injury, and now got a little bit of work here, but I would not expect to see him here in this third quarter.
Thank you for the update.
I hope that's not injury related.
Yeah.
I hate to see that happen. It may be just a number that, it's a hot and muggy night. They've gotten the reps that they wanted under it, but boy, I hope that's not injury related.
Keep you up to date on that. Taquan Mizell will be deep, so we'll see if Smoke can continue to excite this Ravens team. They really seem to like this kid, the rookie free agent out of Virginia. He's the ACC all-time leading receiver out of the backfield. He's going to make this team. He's going to do it with some special teams play. I think the Ravens like what they see from him as a potential third down back. But he'll get a chance to return the ball here because the Dolphins, with an unsportsmanlike penalty at the end of the half, after the half had ended, they get backed up 15 yards, and now Frank will have to kick off from the 20-yard line. So Smoke Mizell will get a shot to return the ball here. Picks it up on the hop at the 10, out to the 20. And it'll be taken out of bounds at the 25-yard line. Likely a change at quarterback for the Ravens. And coming in at quarterback will be Josh Woodrum, the rookie free agent out of Liberty. Last week against the Washington Redskins, he recorded a perfect quarterback rating, 158.3. Now, granted, he only played for a quarter, but that's not a bad way to start your NFL career.
No, and he made some nice throws. He did. A couple under duress, got the ball out of his hands a couple times. So impressive first start for him. In fact, he gets to start the second half. This is exciting for him.
Liberty, a lesser-known football school in Virginia, though it has placed the player in the NFL before. First down, Woodrum will hand it off, and Buck Allen's got a nice hole, stretches it out to the 32-yard line. Biggest name ever produced was not Ryan Mallett. Of course, he was in Arkansas. Mallett for the first half tonight, 13 of 22, 113 yards, 1 touchdown. If he doesn't have the 2 interceptions, then you can say Artie's taken the right step. Did he make any progress tonight?
Yeah, and as I said, one of the interceptions really wasn't his fault. Yeah, it's going to be baby steps to a degree, as whether it's the developing of the running game, the development of the reconstructed offensive line, his getting comfortable with the top receivers on the outside.
Josh Woodrum on 2nd and 4. We'll go back to the ground game, and Buck Allen will just pound his way across the 35 to the 38. That's good for a first down. So I mentioned Liberty. It's a pretty sizable school, good size enrollment, not a well-known football program. Though it has placed a player in the NFL. Any idea who it was? The NFL player that played at Liberty.
You're stretching. You're stretching.
I had to go back and check, so don't feel bad.
I was wrong about the Lou Holtz. Stan White corrected me. I was wrong about the Lou Holtz. He said he played at Kent State. There was no coaching myth that Lou Holtz never played college football. Okay, who came out of Liberty?
Sam Gatto.
Oh, I can't believe that wasn't just on the tip of my tongue.
I told you I had to look it up.
How could I not know that?
How did you not know your Sam Gatto trivia? Penalty flag.
Offense number 63.
On that
5-yard
offensive
penalty.
line.
First down.
Jared Pugsley, who got the start tonight for John Harbaugh.
And still in the game.
Pugsley part of that reconfigured offensive line. You think about what's happened on this offensive line between injuries, the John Urschel retirement. And even though Urschel had not yet won a starting job, he was in the mix for a starting center's job. He was that versatile guard center who you could count on whether he was going to be a starter or a backup. You had that roster spot already filled in for him. That was a big loss when he retired the first day of training camp. Buck Allen tries to cut to the left, loses his footing, and we stopped at the line of scrimmage. So the footing issues that we saw in the first half carry right over into the second half, and having the field crew try to pick up some of the divots. That might work on a golf course, but you can't fix a football field that's broken at halftime. We talk about halftime adjustments for the teams in the locker room. Probably harder for the field crew when the field looks like this.
And this isn't going to get a lot better now. I mean, for this to start the season this way, that's got to be a concern for the stadium, for the Miami team. And
2nd and 15. Josh Woodrum. Off the play fake, his first pass attempt of the night. A little shovel pass to Buck Allen, and Buck Allen will work his way forward for about a 6-yard gain. Woodrum has shown a lot of poise and field presence for a rookie free agent out of a program that's not Oklahoma and Michigan and Ohio State, the programs where you play in the big stadiums and under the lights and a lot of TV coverage. The stage has not proven too big for this kid.
Well, unlike the plays he just made, he seems to have kind of a presence about him that he's going to make something happen out of the design of the offense.
See if he can convert on 3rd and long. 3rd and 11. Opening drive of the 3rd quarter. Good protection. Woodrum's pass is caught and then dropped as Max Williams went to the turf. Could not hang on to the ball. He would have been about a yard shy of the first down anyway.
Max Williams looks a lot bigger than I remember. I don't know, whether he's put the weight on, obviously dealing with the injury. They talk about the fact that he's not a real fluid runner, but yet he's productive. Obviously coming out as a second-round draft choice, high expectations for him in 2015. We talked about the tight end grouping earlier in terms of they need to have somebody that can give them that presence.
Kenny Allen's punt to Drew Francis mishandled. Loose ball at 33, and the Dolphins will come up with the ball. Almost another recovery for the Ravens special teams. Dolphins will be on the field with the offense when we get back to South Florida. Ravens in front, 13-7, third quarter. 2 more preseason games before the regular season starts to unfold. Here's a look at the first half of the season. Brian, all games obviously very important, but there's a 3-game stretch in the first 8 that is crucial, starting with a trip to London against the Jaguars. The Ravens come back, they face Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and then a West Coast trip where it's always hard to win against the Oakland Raiders. You can make a case that much of the success of this season will hinge on that 3-week span.
Certainly in the first half. I know when the Ravens made the conscious decision to not have a bye early, which you typically would have after the London game, I can't believe they in the back of their mind thought, no, by the way, they're going to schedule Pittsburgh after not taking a bye after the London game. And then after going on the West Coast run to Oakland, you're right. That 3-game stretch is going to challenge this team.
If they can stand up to those 3 weeks, then this could be a season to remember. If not, it could be a very tedious season, because that is going to be a big challenge for the Ravens right out of the gate in late September. Sonoris Perry is the deep back, and he'll get the carry on first down, and he'll run into Ronson Kalfusi, Tyus Bowser, and the young members of the Ravens defense after a gain of about 3. And you know, as every season presents its surprises, to go back to the schedule, and its, you know, unpredictables, the fact that so many young players on this team for John Harbaugh have never traveled overseas. As a coach, how much do you worry about things like jet lag? They've never experienced to that degree. Yeah, you've played out west, but you've never played in London before. How nerve-wracking is that for a coach?
Well, but you really can't focus on it, because there's nothing you can do about it. You're going to try to travel the best way you can, keep them as fresh as you can. You'll alter the practice schedule a little bit to account for it. But you're right, the young players, and traveling by nature in the National Football League, the biggest shock for these young players, and visiting with young players the way we have, is they're begin to feel like, okay, I'm getting a little feel of what the NFL's about. And then they get to the opener and they realize, holy mackerel, the speed, the physicality, that they don't know what they don't know. And then you add to that now the rigors of that kind of travel and the schedule.
Brandon Williams spent some time in London in the offseason to get a feel for what's going to be up there.
Practice some of his dance moves over there, looks like.
He actually did. He was huge on social media with some of his dance moves near Big Ben. Third down pass from Fales, way off the mark. Brandon Williams delighting Ravens fans at an open stadium practice earlier in the month with his dance moves in a dance-off. And for a guy that is as big and as stout as he is, you just can't believe what a great athlete it is. He was going back and forth with a young lady in the stands and who was the better dancer, and he kind of put it away when he jumped up on his hands and started dancing on his hands.
At all 335 pounds.
Yeah.
That's the roster listed weight anyway, but and has a joy for the game. I mean, this guy's got a smile on his face all the time. You love that.
He is a huge part of the Dean Pease defense. The ability to stuff the run. He wants to become a better pass rusher this year for Dean Pease. That's his focal point here in year 5. Not only becoming just a human wall against the run, but applying quarterback pressure. Because if Dean Pease can get quarterback pressure with a 3-man front, can you imagine what he can do with his back-end coverage schemes?
And that's the vogue thing in the league right now, is getting pressure from the interior of your defensive line. If you can do that, like I said, that's a gift from the football gods.
Dolphins looking at a 1st and 10 from their 42. Off the play fake, Bales going deep. Inside the 15, he overthrows his target. He was looking for DeMar Stringfield.
And Jalen Hill again showing a nice ability to go with the deep ball. You know, you in covering the deep ball as a DB, the key is you don't ever give up, because you don't know the ball is going to be. Right now it looks like he might be beat, but he continues on, played it well, a little bit of hand fighting there. Boy, every time we see this guy on the field, he's showing a maturity an ability to make a play. This is a real find as an undrafted free agent for the Ravens. His enthusiasm, his ability on special teams, and has shown some real coverage ability as well.
Fails on second down, throws a short completion to the 48-yard line. And Chuck Clark, the 6th-round draft pick out of Virginia, is right there for the stop. We head down to the field at Evan Washburn.
And guys, just to follow up on Jalen Hill, the other aspect of this is the fact that he realizes his opportunity based off of the injuries, and he's not ignoring it. And I thought what was interesting when we spoke with him last night is that Tavon Young and Maurice Kennedy, they're some of his best friends on the team, but he knows that they're down. This provides the chance, and it's the same thing he said he dealt with when he was a walk-on at Jacksonville State.
Pretty remarkable to go from a walk-on in college to a rookie free agent in the NFL and just keep making plays. Fails on the scramble, running to his left, buying some time, and he's going to be taken out of bounds, close to the first down, but about a half a yard shy.
Well, the thing I love the story. You know, he was a walk-on at Jacksonville State. He wanted to go to Georgia State because they were, and in lesser divisions you can break scholarships up. He said, Dad, they're going to give me meals. He says, no, I think, don't worry about that. You can need it. But Dad, they're going to give me meals. I mean, that's how base this is. That hey, an opportunity. But he took advantage of it. Obviously, went in as a receiver. And then they saw the athleticism and had a needed DB. So, hey, come on over and play DB. And now he's playing NFL caliber.
With a shot of making the Ravens the only team that offered him a free agent tryout.
Charge timeout. Miami, 30-second timeout.
Dolphins taking a timeout, looking at a 4th and 1 situation. Yeah, Jalen Hill said, it wasn't like he had a lot of options to choose from. He was just hoping to get a shot. The Ravens gave him a call and gave him a shot at their rookie free agent, at their rookie mini camp, and basically said, look, come show us what you have. And every opportunity he has been given, he has taken full advantage of.
Yeah, and you love these kind of stories, and you've already mentioned several times about the Ravens' propensity. We told the story last week about how the Ravens, they don't do it with a lot of money. A lot of teams throw a lot of money around in free agency, and Ozzie Newsome does not. He relies on the coaches and the personnel people to kind of come up, and it's kind of fun. You get into the 3rd day of the draft, and everybody has these guys in their back pocket. Guys that they've seen on the road, they kind of like, they maybe developed a little relationship with, and want to try to recruit them now because they know they're not getting drafted.
Dolphins looking at a 4th and 1 at the Ravens' 47-yard line. Fails off the play fake, fires down the middle, and he overthrows the mark. And guess who was on the coverage perfectly? Jalen Hill. So the Ravens will have the offense back on the field when we get back. They lead it 13-7.
For Baltimore Ravens, by MedStar Health, the official medical team of the Baltimore Ravens. By Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. By Verizon, the official wireless voice, internet, and cable service provider of the Baltimore Ravens. And by Advanced Business Systems, official business solutions provider to the Baltimore Ravens.
Well, we know who the Ravens will have in their top 3 at wide receiver. The question now becomes 4, 5, and 6. By 6, I mean if you force the issue, you might keep 6 players. If one of these guys can emerge, a Keenan Reynolds, Chris Matthews, Quincy Attaboy-Joe.
And as deep as they're playing now at the safety and corner position, we just talked about the depth there. You may only keep 5 wide receivers because you want to keep that extra guy for the special team spot. So that makes it very competitive as you get down to Chris Moore and Quincy and Chris Matthews and even Keenan Reynolds in the return game.
Woodruff throws complete to Max Williams at midfield. Williams into Dolphin territory, weaving his way at the 30, down to the 15, and all the way down to the 12-yard line. And Max Williams showing some elusiveness that we have not seen from the young tight end.
Yeah, and this is what they saw coming out of Minnesota. Again, he's not a fancy athlete. By that, he has kind of an odd running style. He's a big man, much bigger than I had realized. He's faster than he looks like he's running. That's the point the coach has made to us. Again, dealing with injuries, but you're talking about a 2nd-round draft choice that the Ravens would love to have him show up as a presence to go with the blocking of a Nick Boyle and the experience of Benjamin Watson.
A 40-yard gain puts it into the Grillmates red zone. Von Mizell testing the left side of the offensive line, can't get a seam. while Max Williams can't get a breath. That is a well-earned point of pain as Max Williams rumbled 40 yards down the field. He wants to go back in, but the training staff's got to make sure he can actually get some air into his lungs before they let him go back onto the playing field.
Yeah, Andy Tucker and Leanne Curl, the two best in the business. And I know it because they've taken care of me for a long time. They're all over it right there, making sure that it's nothing more than just maybe getting winded, that he can come down on a rib or something.
He did land right on the ball when he came down. Off the play fake, Woodrum rolls to the right. He's got room to run. If he wants to keep it, he can get in, and he does with a touchdown for the rookie quarterback. A 14-yard run for Josh Woodrum, and a perfect preseason continues for the young man who nobody even had him on the radar screen. And I'm not saying he's going to earn a spot on John Harbaugh's roster, but he will get a chance to play for 2. And Brian, you put enough of these games together, somebody might find you.
Sure, whether it's a developmental spot, that you need those guys, obviously, because what are a lot of teams doing? They're keeping 2 quarterbacks on the roster because they want to save that 53rd man roster for a special teams presence. So there's going to be somebody on special teams. They're going to go for 2 here. Why not? Again, you practice it. The chart says you do that at this point when you look at the differential of being 12 points, but also just the practice of it. Again, I keep coming back to the evaluation of your process. You have 2-point plays in your bag that you want to work on. Well, now this is a live situation you can get evaluated.
And you see Josh Woodrum breathing heavily after his run. You saw Max Williams sucking for some air. It gives you an idea of how thick the humidity is tonight here in South Florida.
They're packing the box here, so and down here you typically it's an either or. They're in a 3 wides alignment, so they're going to spread it out. If they get too passive on the back end, you go ahead. Typically, you'll have a run called, and then you check it to a predetermined pass, or vice versa. The way Miami was hanging around the box looked like it was going to be tough sledding for the run. Let's see if they check it and go with the throw.
Well, the Ravens take the timeout to talk it over. Josh Woodrum has caught his breath.
He's all smiles. He's loving it.
He really is. There's a kid who comes to camp again with a rookie tryout in rookie mini camp, sticks around for training camp. Nobody really paid him that much attention in training camp, I'll be honest with you. I was out there every day, didn't have a lot of Josh Woodrum conversations, and all he's done in the games is look like somebody who belongs at this level.
And this is what I'm talking about here. This is tight enough in here. This would indicate you'd maybe go ahead and go with the pass.
And that's what Woodrum will do for the 2-point conversion. Fires to the back of the end zone. It is caught by Larry Donnell, and the Ravens convert for 2. So Larry Donnell, who had the touchdown in the first half, now gets the 2-point conversion. A big couple of plays for the tight ends as this drive was brought to life by Max Williams. A 40-yard gain down the sideline to put the Ravens into the Grill Mates red zone. And from there it was Josh Woodrum on the rollout for the 14-yard touchdown, the second for the Ravens. The air conditioning hose is working overtime on the Ravens sideline.
That's powering up.
The Geico scoring drive, 3 plays, 54 yards, minute 37. Josh Woodrum caps it with a 14-yard touchdown run. Justin Tucker will kick off. And this one will be taken at the goal line, brought out across the 15 and taken down shy of the 20-yard line. That was Torrey McTire getting absolutely nowhere as Otha Foster comes up with the special teams play. One more rookie free agent trying to find his way onto this roster. And Josh Woodrum, who would be one of the longer shots at quarterback. But Brian, you point out, every team has a practice squad. Every practice squad has a quarterback on it. And that's one way to find your way onto an NFL roster, whether that is the practice squad or as a backup.
He's an ideal guy that if you're going to keep 2 on the roster, which a lot of teams do. Now, given the injury to Joe Flacco, they may be comfortable with that early. They may have the 3rd guy on the roster. But if not, he'd be an excellent developmental squad candidate.
Brandon Dowdy in at quarterback now for the Dolphins. He'll hand it off. And again, the Dolphins ground game getting nothing in the way of yardage. Storm Johnson will lose a yard on the play. Peanut Nwasu came slashing in along with Ricard. Ricard is one of the players we've touched on as a rookie free agent who's taken a lot of attention from the coaches in training camp and looking to pop a little bit here in the game.
Yeah, it's amazing how many times the coaches will bring him up. Obviously, with Brent Urban, and Kafusi, who they're counting on coming back from injury. But Ricard is one who the coaches keep bringing up in terms of how pleased they are with his development and want to see it here in the games.
Dolphins almost turn it over as Storm Johnson loses his footing on the delayed handoff. Bam Bradley, and they're living up to his first name with the hit. Another loss of 2, and a Raven shaken up on the play. Might be Tyus Bowser. Not positive. Can't get a clear shot at what the number is. Carl Davis is the player shaken up on the play. Carl Davis, one of those defensive linemen who the Ravens are so excited about, because at a position there is nobody for John Harbaugh to look at on the depth chart and say this guy can't make the team. Any one of their defensive tackles and defensive ends are good enough to make the team. So it's good to see Carl Davis sitting up. Dean Pease has the luxury to say all of these guys can play for this team at this level. And again, footing.
Yeah. This field continues to be a problem in terms of getting the foot in. It looked like maybe just knocked the wind out of himself straight. But you talk about that depth on the defensive line. That is so important. You know, that was usually an area you always worried about, the depth of the defensive line. Now, we've talked about how the number of plays in base versus nickel has changed the game a little bit. We've talked about the fact that there could be some trade potential. And I don't mean this in a cynical way, but, you know, injury will be a factor. Somebody might find themselves on the injury squad that now allows you to keep them on the team more long term. So, yeah, this is the one area where it's nice to have that luxury of depth.
Dolphins playing it conservatively, sticking with the run game, and Storm Johnson getting nowhere on third down. Tyus Bowser coming up with a stop along with Chris Wormley. So the 2nd round pick and the 3rd round pick in on the stop, and that's what you want to see from your draft class.
Yeah, and now it really is about one-on-one matchups. I'm sure Dean Pease and Marty Morgan are the same way to a degree. A little bit different offense, but it's, you know, I'm going to be a little more base because I just want to see these guys go one-on-one. If I can dial up a blitz that gets a free runner, what have I learned? That a guy can make an open field tackle. I want to see all these one-on-one matchups as best I can.
Keenan Reynolds will let the punt hit at the 50 and trickle down at the 46-yard line. Still looking for a first sack for the Ravens defense tonight, but for each sack made by the Ravens during the upcoming season, Constellation will send one group of students to visit the Power Up exhibit at the Maryland Science Center. To learn more, visit BaltimoreRavens.com/sacks4science.
And yeah, sacks are important, but pressures are more important. I remember Rex Ryan, when he was my coordinator, that was something that we really stressed a lot more of. Don't worry about the sacks, they'll come. But it's pressures. How many times can I get a hand on a quarterback? How many times can I get a hurried throw? That's going to have a benefit. Maybe even better because it leads to a turnover and an interception. So we've seen some hurried throws and some pressures, even though the sacks themselves have been absent.
Still a little bit more than 5 minutes left in this 3rd quarter. The Ravens up by 2 touchdowns. Dolphins showing blitz. They bring it. And Woodrum hands it off to Bobby Rainey, who's got room into Dolphin territory, tripped up and taken down at the 42-yard line with a 12-yard gain.
Yeah, they've done a little bit more of this edge rushing here, particularly in 3 wides. Again, they pull the tackle around, but nice bouncing. We've seen this out of Mizell, Bobby Rainey the same way. They've got a nice mix of back in terms of the size of a West, the little more shiftiness of a Bobby Rainey, and then just the smoke Mizell that takes it to a whole nother level.
Fresh set of downs for the Ravens at the Miami 43. Rainey again on the carry, this time for no yards. It'll be 2nd down and 10. And if you start the game with an offensive line that's under construction, as you get to this point of the 2nd half, it is really a who's where and who's he.
And it is. We had a chance to visit last night with Hurst, and we asked him, what's harder, going from the right side to the left side or going from outside to inside? And typically the answer is going from one side to the other because your stance changes, the moves. But now think of Hurst. He goes from right side to left side and inside on both sides too. That's a lot.
On 2nd down, end around. Chris Moore. A little bit of room to run on the far sideline. Fumbles the ball, but out of bounds. After he gains 2 or 3 on the play. It'll set up a 3rd down and long. To go back to James Hurst. Think of his week. Last week against the Redskins, he's the starting right tackle. All this week in practice, he's the starting left guard, and tonight he's the starting left tackle.
And I asked him, was it hard? Because in the communication, you have line calls. And there's specialized line calls from the center to the guard to tackle to tight end. And is it hard? Because you forget, all right, we're making a scoop call. Oh, okay, wait a minute. Am I scooping as the tackle at the second level, or am I the guard and I stay as the anchor? Which one am I in this scoop? It's like a whole nother language as to where I'm coming from.
Woodruff rolling out the throw. His pass is complete. And that's Michael Campanaro. Comes out of bounds just shy of the first down marker. He tried to stretch the ball past the first down marker. He'll put the ball down at about the 36-yard line. Had to get to the 35 for a first down. So the Ravens are looking for a first down pickup here now on fourth down at about a half a yard. They'll bring some big bodies in. Lorenzo Taliaferro comes in at fullback. He did not have a particularly strong game last week in the preseason opener.
No, and they need that to see that kind of physicality. Although here, you'd be half tempted with the big bodies to maybe give a play fake and look at that corner down the field.
And it looks like the Dolphins will take a timeout. They will use their second timeout. That'll give John Harbaugh and Marty Morningwig a chance to think about what they want to do in terms of strategy. If it's a regular season, I think you're right. I think you're gonna do all kind of fancy moves if you need to. But in the preseason, maybe it's time for a little bit of muscle. The break in action caused by the Ravens challenging the spot of the Campanaro completion. Closer look brought to you by Toyota. We take a closer look. Brian, did he sell this enough to get the first down or return?
He reached out, but he reached out sideways. He needed to take that left hand and reach it forward a little bit, and they might have given him the benefit of the doubt.
Ball stands, so it's 4th and 1. Back to the eye, gives to Ricky Ortiz the up back, and he plows forward to get 2 yards and the first down.
We saw that last week as well, just where you got the guy in the eye, and I've talked about my disdain for turning around and handing the ball back to a guy who's 6 yards deep to get a half a yard or a yard, so he slipped to the fullback.
He gets the job done. Luckily, his footing held. The footing has been atrocious here in Miami, and this is something that you dealt with as a head coach, going as far as canceling a preseason game in Philadelphia.
Don't put that
once.
on me now. You keep it. Yeah, people remember in the Hard Knocks year went up to Philadelphia and the old vet, and just what a nightmare that was. And the players. They had played a game with the Phillies the night before, and the turf did not go down real well. You think this looks bad? I mean, there were gullies to where we just couldn't get the game played. So we had to make the executive decision. Mr. Lurie came down and said it's on me, and we'll. The only thing I asked is, could you wait till we leave the stadium before you announce this Philly fans that there'll be no game tonight?
I'm sure they were very charming towards you at Philly.
They were very gracious, and
after you were blamed for canceling the game.
Right. It was my fault.
And that was a synthetic field, so there was no excuse for that. This is a natural grass field that just hasn't held. Woodruff off the play fake, throws complete. Inside the 20, that fits mainly to the 10, and the tight end is down to the 6-yard line with a first down of the Grillmates red zone. And again, I don't want to elevate Josh Woodruff to an NFL starting role.
This is classic little fake boot action. Now you come around, you slip a guy underneath. Everybody in the league runs everything from high school to college to pro. He does a nice job, and that's one of the things. He's got a nice delivery outside the pocket. He's got a nice tight ball. He seems to be very accurate, and that's something you can work with.
Set under center with a minute left in the third quarter. Ravens knocking on the door. 1st and goal just inside the 7. Fumble the ball. Bobby Rainey falls on it. And that time Woodruff looked like the ball may have hit off of the up back. Take another look at this, Brian, and see where he loses control of it.
Yeah, was it the back or the quarterback? Well, the quarterback had a little difficulty. Oh, no, it was the fullback as he brushed. And that's always tough on an inside run. As they pass the fullback right here, the ball's out too early. He hits the shoulder of Ortiz. That's really on the quarterback. You've got to keep that seated longer as you come out from under center, because that happens more often than you'd like.
Bobby Rainey saves the moment. Ravens lose a couple. 2nd and goal from the Dolphins 10. Here's Taliaferro weaving his way inside the 5, lunges to the goal line. He's stopped about 6 inches short. So Lorenzo Taliaferro on his first carry of the preseason almost found the end zone. And that brings us to the end of the third quarter, with the Ravens in charge, leading by 2 touchdowns. John Harbaugh has seen his defense stand up to the Dolphins, and his young quarterback starting to connect here in the third quarter as we point to the fourth. Started the fourth quarter in South Florida. Ravens in front 21-7. Jerry Sandusky, Brian Billick live from the Verizon broadcast booth. Tonight's Ravens Game Day Network presented by Geico. Josh Woodrum 4 for 5 tonight. 65 yards. Has a touchdown run. Looking to finish off a 3rd and goal situation. 6 inches away from the goal line. First play, fourth quarter. It's Woodrum leaning forward. Officials converge, waiting for a signal, and it is a touchdown. Josh Woodrum with his 2nd rushing touchdown of the night.
That was a Brady-esque wedge. You know, the quarterback, you don't just go right over the top. You kind of shuffle down the line just a little bit. He's too tired to celebrate much more than that. But you find that little alley, you know, to be able to try to kind of wedge yourself in there and on the quarterback sneak. Very Brady-esque. We're talking about Woodrum and Brady in the same breath. I'm going nuts here.
It is,
but he did a nice job. He did a nice job slicing in there, and you got to be impressed by the young man.
Josh Woodrum out of Liberty, one of many players on this roster right now from small schools looking to make it in the big time.
Look at that smile. He's loving it.
That grin says childhood dream unfolding here for a 2nd week in a row. Perfect quarterback rating last week. 2 touchdowns tonight for Josh Woodrum, and we are in the opening play of the fourth quarter. Justin Tucker will be on for the extra point attempt. Woodrum quarterback rating tonight is 118. It's not perfect. Justin Tucker's kick is. 28-7. Ravens lead it. Well, the tight ends, Brian, we talked about them as a group that was going to be a good blocking group, but they've been a good receiving group tonight. We saw Ben Watson for the first time in the preseason making a nice catch. Larry Donnell, the former New York Giant, and Max Williams. He was surprising at a 40-yard gain.
Well, and Max Williams of this group is the one most apt to be able to come up with those kind of big plays. I'm not going to put him in Dennis Pitta. Donnell comes up with his 2nd touchdown. But this is a group that, again, in the Marty Morningwig and Greg Roman offense, they're going to have a specific purpose. Again, we're not going to get an 80-catch guy out of here. If collectively this group came up with 25 receptions on the year, we're going to get those receptions someplace else, whether it be a Jeremy Maclin, whether it comes from a Danny Woodhead. But this group has a specific purpose. And of this group right here, Max Williams is the one that has the best chance to maybe break out and develop into a legitimate threat down the field.
Geico scoring drive. The Ravens 10 plays, 54 yards, 5.5 minutes. Justin Tucker will kick it off. It'll be taken at the goal line by Davion Smith, and Smith will get across the 20-25 and no further. Go back to Max Williams. A couple of years ago, Max Williams had 32 receptions as a rookie. Last year in 4 games, though, he did not have any receptions. Back to social media and Twitter. Question coming in for you, Coach. Let's take a look. It's from J-Star. Wants to know, how many quarterbacks will the Ravens keep, Coach? Do you think Woodrum can make this team?
Well, if you keep playing like this, you can consider it. I think, like a lot of teams, they'd go with 2. But the fact that Joe Flacco is going to come in off an injury, not take a single snap during the training camp, or I should say during preseason, my guess is on the active roster, you're likely going to see 3 to begin with. You may roll the dice, go with 2. You'd go with Flacco, you could go with Mallet, and then have someone on the developmental squad. And right now, you know, Woodrum's going to be about as good as anybody as you're going to have in that position.
Brandon Dowdy is the quarterback for the Dolphins in the fourth quarter. Dowdy's pass is complete. Sails high above the target of the 40-yard line. Well covered on the play by Reggie Porter, rookie free agent. Reggie Porter out of Utah, big school, but not all of the young players trying to make this roster come from the big schools. Take a look at some of the starting places of the dreamers who have arrived on this roster. After this play, we're going to show you that this is not all about Michigan, Ohio State, and USC as far as making it in the NFL. 2nd down and 10. Dowdy with a handoff that gets just about nowhere. Donald Payne on the stop. Donald Payne, one of those guys from a smaller school. He's from Stetson. Take a look at where some of the players, Josh Woodrum, Liberty, Ladarius Webb, Nicholls State, Brandon Carr and Matthew Judon, Grand Valley State, Palafero from Coastal, Danny Woodhead, Chadron State in Nebraska, Anthony Levine, Tennessee State, Jalen Hill, Jacksonville State, which is in Alabama, not Florida, Ryan Jensen, Colorado State, Pueblo.
Never heard of it.
Larry Donnell, Grambling, Brandon Williams, Missouri Southern State. I'd never heard of that.
I challenged you, Jerry. I said, how many of those do you know the team nickname? And you came up with one. Come on,
Tennessee State Tigers.
Okay,
Go
yeah.
Tigers.
You could make it
They're
up
the
right
same
now.
as Towson.
I wouldn't know. Come on, America.
I
Twitter.
think Coastal Carolina, aren't they the Chanticleers?
That's a good call. That is a good call. You could be lying through your teeth, but that's a good call.
It's a good nickname. Well, somebody's a Chanticleer. Why
Come on,
not
this
them?
is what Twitter is for. Twitter in these names. I want to know what the names. We ought to be able, by the end of the
Liberty's a
broadcast,
Flame.
be able to put a name to every one of those schools.
Grambling's the Tigers. There's 4. I got 4 so far.
Okay.
How much do I need for the $50? I need 5, right?
You lost the 50 already. Now we've gotten to Google.
We've gone to Google. Punt team out for the Dolphins. Bobby Rainey will be deep for the Ravens. Griff Whalen almost got a hand on that punt. Rainey will settle under it at the 25. He's got some room. It evaporates quickly, and he's tripped up, taken down at the 34-yard line. Josh Woodrum having a great night tonight. All smiles and celebrations as the Ravens lead the Dolphins 28-7. Ravens fans, enter for a chance to become the Southwest Airlines captain of the game at BaltimoreRaven.com. And you could be on the field with team captains for the coin toss, all in your own custom jersey, plus a whole lot more. Here in South Florida, it has turned into a one-sided affair, and Josh Woodrum is a big part of the Ravens' dominance here in the second half. 2 rushing touchdowns for the rookie free agent out of Liberty, and the Ravens enjoying a 3-touchdown lead on a sloppy track tonight in South Florida.
Well, we're down to the rest y'alls. That's what you call you're out scrimmaging with your team. Your first team goes, your second team goes. Then you turn to your coaches and say, put the rest y'alls in. Well, that's what we got. We got the rest y'alls here. But I tell you what, it can be compelling because there's some guys in this group now we got to keep an eye on. We still got to find a returner. We got to find out if some of these backup offensive linemen are going to be a factor in terms of the rotation and trying to make this team.
And you have to figure out the depth at receiver as well. Lorenzo Talafero with a carry, gets about a yard out to the 35-yard line. We were talking about players who make it from the smaller schools. Andy Bach, our producer, sharing with us that Eric Green, former tight end, is a Liberty alum.
Oh, that's right. That's
along
right.
with Sam Congato.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, Liberty is almost an NFL factory at this point. So we really should put that into the small school category.
There you go. Compared to Colorado State Pueblo.
There you go. Well, Terrence West is a Towson Tiger. For years, Towson was not known as a school that put a lot of guys into the NFL, but they've had several in the last couple of years. Running play nets nothing, maybe a loss of 2 or 3 for Smoke Mazel, who was taken down in the backfield. That's going to set up 3rd down and 9 with 12.5 minutes left to play. Tonight's Ravens Game Day Network presented by Geico on a steamy night in South Florida. Humidity's at 73%. The heat index is 95 degrees, and the sun has long since set. To give you an idea of just how uncomfortable the conditions are for the players down here in South Florida. They've had the air conditioning hoses going full tilt throughout this game on the bench area. Josh Woodrum on 3rd down and 11. Out of the shotgun. Great protection, and his pass is complete. C.J. Board across midfield into Dolphins territory at the 48, and that is good for a Baltimore 1st down.
Yeah, there was no underneath coverage, so it was an easier pass, but nice job. I want you to watch the way he climbs the pocket. He's waiting for the route to come open, so he doesn't panic, doesn't stay high, steps up, delivers a nice catchable ball right over the middle. Nothing really underneath it, but nice job climbing the pocket.
But he keeps the offense on the field. He keeps the clock winding. I think that makes both coaches happy, to be honest with you. Talafero with the carry, tries to juke his way around the edge, won't get there. He's taken down, no gain. Lafayette Pitts came out of the edge. Now, for a guy like Lorenzo Talafero, he's got to be a north-south runner, right? He's not going to use footwork to make many defensive backs.
No, so the scheme that Greg Roman has brought in fits him very well. Eric DaCosta talked about the idea that if he stays on the roster as a fullback, can be something to use in the running back position later in the season. He's going to have to show he can block a whole lot better than he did last week from the fullback position, because the way these other guys are playing may be a bit of a luxury to keep him on the roster in just that capacity as a late season runner.
Second down and 12. Woodrum off the play fake. He's got Ricky Ortiz out of the backfield, and he is ridden out of bounds. It'll be a third down coming up.
The hard part about keeping fullbacks on the roster, where before it was a staple for teams in the NFL, is typically you're only going to carry one. So now you have a game plan, and let's say you've got a third of your game plan, a fourth of your game plan is your two back, 21 personnel with a fullback, and your one fullback goes down. Now you got a big chunk of your game plan that falls off your game sheet. Now you can follow up with tight ends. That's why you see more and more of these tight ends. Now I'm going to carry the extra tight end, because now I can get into a true two tight end. I'll use one of them as a fullback. That may not be effective as a true fullback, but we haven't seen Ortiz or Telefero block like a true fullback in the what you think of, like you had in Juszczyk and some of the others that as of late, when we had Chuck Evans in my day, that could serve kind of the purpose both ways. It's a bit of a luxury, and it's why you see so few fullback-oriented offenses in the league.
Ryan Malik with the reception from Josh Woodrum. And that is good for a Ravens first down. Every first down takes about 2 minutes off the clock, and that's what Marty Morningwig and John Harbaugh want to see. Not because they want to get finished to this preseason game, but they want to establish this is what the Ravens want to do in 2017. Carry the lead into the fourth quarter, and then use your power to just crank down the clock and wear down the opponent.
Yeah, and what was the formula for us in 2000? Played record-setting defense, didn't turn the ball over, led the league in turnover differential. We're 5th in the league in rushing. Now, we weren't exactly a dynamic offense down the field, but when it came to when we had that 10, 13-point lead, and we get into the middle of that fourth quarter, we could take the air out of the ball now. We could hold on to that ball for a while because we could pound away.
I very much see the Ravens following a similar path here in 2017 as we've seen their personnel. They're deep in running back. The offensive line will get settled by the September season opener. On 2nd and 10. Woodrum up top of the sideline, incomplete. He was looking for Chris Moore, and Moore tried to reach out with an Odell Beckham Jr. one-handed grab. I think maybe he should have put 2 out there, Brian. He would have had it.
Yeah, nice touch. Nice touch by Woodrum, keeping the ball in play, and that quick fade right on the outside. Now, he didn't have much of a choice because it looked like that left hand kind of got tied up with the DB.
Armbar?
Yeah, well, no, I think that was they were both involved. I hated to see that call at that point. Officials want this to be over too.
8.5 minutes left to play. Ravens up by 3 touchdowns, trying to salt this thing away. On 3rd down, blitz pressure coming. Woodrum stands tall, throws complete to Griff Whalen, and he is twisted down about 2 yards shy of the first down at the 23-yard line. So Justin Tucker will come on for one more try.
I don't know that I wouldn't bring another kicker into camp, because I don't want to wear I don't want to wear his leg out at this point.
Well, when he was campaigning to try that 67-yarder earlier in the game, I think that's what Jerry Rosberg was saying was, look, we need your leg.
Yeah.
Just calm down. This for Justin Tucker will be a 41-yard field goal try. He hit from 52 earlier in the game. This will be his 3rd field goal attempt tonight. And you can make it 3 for 3 as Justin Tucker puts it right down the middle. 7:37 left to play. You can do this in the preseason. We can put the hay in the barn. A Ravens game summary, 31-7. The Ravens leading here 4th quarter. Total plays have well eclipsed the Miami Dolphins. Rushing yards, Ravens. Passing yards. Brian, what do you see numerically from tonight's game?
Well, you got to like the fact that for 2 weeks in a row now we've been over 100 yards, so that's important. You don't like seeing the turnovers, but I don't think the numbers on this board don't tell the story of what we just saw was the ability to kind of sustain some drives, get some first downs, to kind of put the game away that the way they're going to need to during the regular season, playing defense and special teams the way they do.
I think Jerry Rosberg may have heard you, because Kenny Allen will handle the kickoff duties. Justin Tucker's had a plenty busy night. Kenny Allen, who played his college ball at Michigan, has played for 2 football coaching families. He played, of course, for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, John Harbaugh with the Ravens. His kicking coach at Michigan is Tyler Brown. His kicking coach with the Ravens is Tyler Brown's father, Randy Brown. How many guys have played for 2 coaching families?
Good combination.
Pretty nice kickoff, too. He puts it 9 yards deep. Take a look at our offensive play of the game. Ryan Mallett with a nice adjustment, and the throw back to Larry Donnell in the second quarter. Good for our offensive play of the game.
You know, Donnell's an interesting player. For the Giants, the year that he played in the Giants, that he was kind of a bit of a go-to guy at the tight end position. He's one that has at least some experience and some potential. We talked about Max Williams being that guy at the tight end position that has the best chance to break out to be a legitimate threat down the field at the tight end position. Donnell could do that as well.
Davion Smith in the backfield. David Fales at quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Check that, Brandon Dowdy. And his pass is complete. About a 9-yard gain. Coming up on the receiving end is that Damari Stringfield. 7.5 minutes left to play here in the fourth quarter in South Florida. Jerry Sandusky, Brian Billick with you live from the broadcast booth at Hard Rock Stadium. Should be called Loose Turf Stadium.
Yeah,
because it did not hold tonight. We've seen a lot of players lose their footing. The stadium started a couple of generations ago as Joe Robbie Stadium. Became,
test you.
All right, it was Joe Robbie Stadium, then it was Pro Player, then it was Land Shark. I mean, it's been about 7 different things. They've undergone several $100 million of renovations trying to make Miami a Super Bowl town again. Not much you can do about the heat. It's going to be a part of it, especially in August.
Yeah, gotta love that in January and February. And I like to look at the stadium. I like the shading that it provides for the fans. It's got kind of a unique look to it.
It's an open top surface, but all of the seats are covered by this new style of roof that they have put over here. It's not a dome stadium. It's always open air. The field is always open to the elements, but the fans are not. Dowdy under pressure, and he's going to be taken down by the rookie outside linebacker Tim Williams.
What we've been talking about is Tim Williams going to show up. You know, this is obviously a guy coming out of Alabama, a 3rd-round draft choice this year. This guy can be, and he's going to come off of this right side on the outside. We've got to get my circle going on the outside. He's got a devastating, they say, inside move in terms of the ability to swim, the power. He's got to develop other attributes. You can't be a one-trick pony in the NFL. That is a project that obviously he's going to have to continue to get at. But as you know, coming into as a 3rd-round draft choice, you know, this guy's, or did I say the 3rd? Is his 2nd? Yeah, 3rd-round draft choice. He's going to make this team now. You're not going to cut your 3rd-round draft choice.
3rd down pass incomplete. Good coverage on the play by Tim Williams and Bam Bradley. And the Dolphins will have to punt the ball back to the Ravens with 5:53 left to play in the ball game. Griff Whalen will get a chance to see if he can crack into the competition for the return game. Griff Whalen is a veteran slot receiver. The Ravens went outside when Michael Campanaro started training camp on the physically unable to perform list. He's a bright guy. He went to Stanford School. You know a little bit about
Stanford.
Cardinal.
Very good. I thought you were going to say Cardinals. I was going to have to correct you.
And Griff Whalen with the punt return about 6 yards out to the 46-yard line. Nothing spectacular in terms of the return, but great field position for the Ravens offense when we come back to Hard Rock Stadium. Ravens in control. Tim Williams coming up with the sack of the Dolphins' last possession, the 3rd-round draft pick out of Alabama. Brian, you said he's got that vicious swim move. That's exactly what he used to get to the quarterback.
Yeah, Dalius Thomas is a part-time coach for the Ravens in the intern program that they have. Of course, Dalius playing for us back in the early years that I was with the Ravens, and he loves this kid, loves his feet, you know, and AD is a guy that, you know, knows about developing, because he was raw when he first came in, a phenomenal athlete, very raw, had to learn those other moves. And he loves this kid, loves his feet. He wants to get better. Speaks very highly of him.
Ravens wanted to improve their pass rush. They only had 31 sacks a year ago, and they've certainly done that in the draft. Tyus Bowser on the edge, the development of Matt Judon on the edge, Tim Williams now coming in showing great pass rush ability. So that all complements Terrell Suggs, who is still the feature piece when it comes to pass rush.
Right, no question about it. And with the presence they can have inside, that's going to help with Terrell getting back into that double-digit sack level of his game.
Thaddeus Lewis, the new quarterback for the Ravens. He'll scramble for a couple of yards before being forced out of bounds. Thaddeus Lewis, 7-year veteran, signed this past week. 29 years old. He has been around for a while now, 2-4 as a starter. He's played for 7 teams in his career. Hasn't thrown a pass in a regular season game since 2013 with the Buffalo Bills. And I mentioned he's been around. He's played for the Rams, the Browns, the Bills, the Texans, the Eagles, and the 49ers. Sounds a little bit like a Johnny Cash song. But the fact of the matter is he has NFL experience, and you're looking for that in a roster where you're not sure what your depth position is going to be like.
And a guy that has shown the ability to be a guy that maybe not take a lot of snaps during the course of the week, can come in if need be, can make some plays with your legs, keep drives alive on a team that's going to play good defense, good special teams, keep a game tight, try to not turn the ball over, make some plays on third down maybe with your legs.
Because while the Ravens are very confident that Joe Flacco will be their quarterback starting off the season September 10th in Cincinnati, the fact that he has had back problems, anybody who's ever had back problems know they can return mysteriously and literally overnight. You have to build your depth a little differently than you did for those first 7 years of Flacco's career where he never missed a game.
You did, and like we talked, goes back to the question that we got online where people are asking how many quarterbacks do you think they'll keep, and in that instance you may be forced to keep 3 quarterbacks because of the uncertainty of Joe Flacco's health.
Thaddeus Lewis pass complete to Smoke Mizell, who sprints down the sideline, banged out of bounds at the 35-yard line. 18-yard pickup. That is good for a Ravens first down with 4:15 left to play here in South Florida. So the Ravens have this one squarely in hand. Now they're trying to see some one-on-one battles with individual players, and then we turn our attention to next week, the 3rd preseason game at home against the Buffalo Bills. What does John Harbaugh look to accomplish in that game that you can't get done in the first 2?
Well, given the approach that they're taking in this 20-20-20, it's really very similar to what they've had in the first 2 games compared to, as we said, the traditional couple series in the first game, a quarter in the second game, and a full half. We'd be looking for a little bit more. So on this 20-20 mentality against the team now, and the thing about Buffalo, they're a team that could maybe challenge the secondary of the Ravens. I don't think the Ravens secondary, but with Washington, Miami, given the personnel they had, we didn't see any of the top line players from Washington play last week. That could be the best of the, now notwithstanding New Orleans, but the starters aren't going to see New Orleans. So next week could be the best challenge for the secondary to kind of see where obviously a Marlon Humphrey is and where this secondary is.
Smoke Mizell will carry the ball inside the Dolphins 30 to the 29. Now let me go back to Dean Pease, the defensive coordinator. We had a chance to visit with Dean last night. He's just one of my favorite people that I've ever been around in football because he has such a perspective of developing young talent. But he's not just a football-only guy. He rides a motorcycle, he composes and plays the piano, and he has 10 grandkids.
10 grandkids.
8 of which are boys.
Wow.
Dean and his wife Mel, who is as wonderful a person as Dean is, will have the grandkids all over what they call NPA nights. No parents allowed.
Oh, and the kids love it. They can't wait for that.
He lets the kids have carrot cake for breakfast. Is that not a great grandfather or what?
What's wrong with that?
Mizell on the carry inside the 25. Spins his way down to the 19-yard line, and that is good for another first down. And when you have as a head coach, when you have a defensive coordinator like Dean Pease, who's a former college head coach, who has coached at position levels, he has coached for 4 decades in college and the NFL, and he just has a knack for getting the talent out of all of his people. If you are on his defense, he will find a package for you come game day to be involved.
And that's really what it comes down to. Again, my mentor Denny Green was always one to chide the coaches going, don't tell me what a kid can't do. I know what he can't do. I know an undrafted free agent can't do a lot of things, otherwise he'd been drafted. What can he do? What can he bring to the team? And that's a special quality for a coach to be able to find that one thing that maybe can be just that bit of a missing piece for your defense.
Time it's Taliaferro Stretching the ball inside the 15-yard line, and he brings us down to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes left to play in South Florida. John Harbaugh and the Ravens have this one pretty much put away on the Miami Dolphins. Ravens fans, help support domestic violence victims and survivors through Hope Line from Verizon by dropping off your used cell phones and accessories to the Verizon booth on Ravens Walk before kickoff of the Ravens versus Dolphins game on October 26th. Jerry Sandusky, Brian Billick with you live from the Verizon broadcast booth at Hard Rock Stadium in South Florida. It has been all Ravens from the second quarter on. It was a scoreless first quarter, but the Ravens have dominated defensively, special teams, and in the second half offensively as well. Thaddeus Lewis at quarterback in the Grillmates red zone. Juan Mizell will carry it for only a yard to the 14-yard line. And now it's a matter of just taking down the clock and then taking off for Baltimore and turning their attention to preseason game number 3 for John Harbaugh and his team. That will be against the Buffalo Bills a week from Saturday. So Brian, to get a little extra prep time.
Yeah, and I think the approach, and I don't know, I haven't had this conversation with John, but given the humidity and what you've been through, you maybe let them get their legs back underneath them, get a little rested, going in through the weekend, and then make next week, although you still have some evaluation to do, I would use it to get the players used to a regular week, because we're going to play Saturday. So you can start the week early on a Sunday and start a normal 7-day routine. Just you talk about what do you want to get the young players used to. Okay, what does a regular week in the NFL feel like in terms of the Monday, the Tuesday off, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Maybe a little bit more. Believe me, calling a game and learning for the players right now is hard because you're running the entire offense and defense. Where in a game plan, you're going to cut it down to about maybe 60 or 70% of what you've got. So the players are having to deal with a lot. Maybe you bring the game plan down a little more specific, allows them to focus in on more specific calls like they would during the regular season.
Ravens will go for it on 4th and 2 at the Dolphins 12. Gives to Talaferro, looking for an opening, and he's not going to get it as he loses his footing. Par for the course tonight, and it's been a sloppy course. If he could have kept his footing, he could have picked up the first down, but the field unkind to him, and the Ravens will turn the ball over on downs with 29 seconds left in the game. Well, you talk about young players trying to make a statement. Brian, in the second half, the Ravens defense limited Miami's offense to 12 yards. That's a statement.
Yeah, and obviously it's something that the Dolphins are going to be a little concerned with, and you can only dismiss so much as going, well, it's a preseason and this, that, and the other. They knew coming in that they were going to have a handful, and you can see right here, I thought they were going to actually take a knee just to finish off this game and throw up the white flag, try to get a little bit out of this. This is the part of the game that always concerned me a little bit in terms of injury. You want to make sure that they get them down quick.
Dowdy throws complete to the 15-yard line.
But to your point, preseason or not, these last 2 games are an impressive start for the Ravens defense. There's no dismissing that under the circumstances in any way, shape, or form. They are stacking up to be something special on defense. Still have some things offensively they need to work towards, not the least of which and I really believe that will stabilize. The stability of the offensive line when you get into a workable starting 5. When you get the full rotation of Wallace and Macklin and Perryman and Woodhead out of the backfield. This offense has a chance of being able to come along a little bit. It's going to be thin offensively, particularly in the offensive line, but still playing to that strength of great defense. 2 of the best special teams players in Cook and Tucker in the National Football League. And when you play good defense, you usually play pretty good special teams.
And that's what the Ravens have tonight, and apparently this year. 31-7, our final score. Ravens over the Dolphins. Let's head down to the field in a moment. We're going to try to talk with Josh Woodrum about his night. Woodrum had a perfect quarterback rating in week 1. Not a bad quarterback rating tonight at 118.8. He had, or 112 rather, 0.5, and he ran for a couple of touchdowns. So the young players getting a chance to shine. The veterans like Justin Tucker shining every bit as brightly as we would expect. A 52-yard field goal for Tucker, one of his 3 field goals tonight, along with his fumble recovery. As we take a look at Justin Tucker's night, he's a guy you're going to rely on throughout the course of this season.
Yeah, it gives that Matt Stover arm, that we used to all know and love, and just so consistent, in a stroke. And then obviously here, that they're scooping up you, the kicker like this. I have fun saying they're not football players because they're not, and I love it. I mean, they're a specialized field. They don't prepare like a football player. They don't practice like a football player. They don't study. But he made a football play there. So Justin Tucker, kudos to you.
Josh Woodrum made several football plays tonight. He's standing by on the field with Evan Washburn. Evan?
Jerry, thanks. Josh, the second straight game where you're able to come in and make some plays. This second half, you take over 18 unanswered points. You lead those drives. How have you been able to be so effective with limited reps, I would imagine, over the course of camp?
Really just being prepared, hitting the playbook, making sure when Mallett's in and he's getting those reps that I'm locked in and, mentally taking the rep and going through it while he's going through it. I feel like I'm able to play faster because I know what I'm doing and I'm prepared. So I think it all comes down to just my preparation, getting in the playbook, coming here, staying late, just doing whatever I can to make sure when I get on the field I have a good opportunity to make some plays.
How have you approached this opportunity when you think about where you came from and having to try out at rookie minicamp, knowing they have Joe and Ryan here established, but you've clearly made an impact with the time that you've had?
Yeah, last year when 16 was my rookie season, so I ended up not getting to go to preseason. I got released right before, so this has been something that I've wanted to do because I feel like ever since, if I just get a chance, I know the way I prepare and the way I go about things, I think I'll be able to put myself in a good position to be successful. So just coming in and just trying to make a name for myself and just making plays when I get the opportunity is kind of all I focus on, because last year I didn't get to go to preseason, so I'm very blessed to be able to come this year, and I've just been really thankful for the opportunity.
We're getting to know your skill set. We saw some of the running on display. What do you think your strengths are for this team or for whoever might sign you after this training?
I just think my hard work and my preparation. I keep coming back to it every night. Whether I know the play or I know the script for the next day, whatever it is, I always go over it and draw the plays out to make sure I know exactly what I'm doing if I get called in, because you never know what could happen in the league or what team you could be on or whatever it is. And my preparation is something that's never going to change, whether I'm on another team or still with the Ravens or whatever it may be. That's something I pride myself on.
What do you think would be the biggest takeaway from this experience with this organization while you've been here?
Baltimore is an awesome organization, and I think I'm just very blessed, like I said, to be able to come in here and compete, because I didn't get that opportunity last year. I got released right before preseason started, so I kind of felt like my opportunity kind of got taken away from me. And I was just telling my parents and some of my close friends, I just feel like if I get an opportunity, I know I can go out there and I can play in this league. I just need someone to give me that chance, and the Ravens have given me that opportunity.
Josh, it was a pleasure to watch. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you. God bless.
More post-game coming up as we head to break here. Josh Woodrum making an impact in this second half. Stay with us.